Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. First off, today is March 20th, exactly 9 o'clock a.m. in the morning. But before we commence with the hearing for the nominees, I just want to put out several administrative announcements that I would like to everybody to know. First off, we have 2 signing seats over at that table over there. So if you're going to testify verbally or even written testimony, make sure you sign. If you're going to testify on behalf of Ms. Samantha Brenner, that signing seat is there. And also later on in time, we're going to start out with Ms. Brenner, and then we're going to the second session of this hearing for the Director of Custom and Quarantine, Mr. Ike Pedo. So at this time, buenas a todos. This confirmation hearing by the Committee on Public Safety, Border Safety, Military and Veterans Affairs, Mayor's Council, Infrastructure, Public Transit is hereby called to order. For the record and in accordance with Section 8107 of Chapter 8, 5 GCA, the first confirmation hearing notice was sent out on Monday, March 11, adhering to the 5 working days sent on Monday, March 18, 2019. In addition, this confirmation hearing notice on the Guam Legislature's website. And the time now, like I said, 9 a.m. Joining me today are my colleagues, and to my left, I want to recognize our COR, Senator Bisco Lee, my favorite. Also, I want to recognize Senator Perez, also my favorite. And I want to recognize my niece, Terlaje, also my favorite. And I want to recognize my good friend, and he's also my favorite. Those are Republican, he's also my favorite, Jim Moylan. And to my right, my favorite also, Mars Kelly, Kelly Mars, Titano. And also, my very favorite, Will Castro, my very, very favorite. But Telo Titano is my best favorite also. And these are my colleagues that will be kind of asking questions to the principals. So those that are testifying on behalf of my favorite also, Samantha Brenner, please come up to the front. And also those that are testifying on behalf of the principal, Samantha, join her on the front, please. Just this? Okay. Okay.
Chris said just do the people who's in favor of her to go first and then make Samantha go.
Okay. So we're going to start with the first one up front. Shirley Samuel? Okay. I'm going to go down the list, so it might not be going down this way, right? I'm just going to go down on the list. Go ahead, Shirley.
Right. Can you hear me now? Okay, good. Thanks. Buenas and Hafaday, senators, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Shirley Harvey Samuel, born Brennan, familia Chala, and I am a long-time resident of Chalampago and Samantha Brennan's sister. Our family has lived in Chalampago for over 50 years, and our extended family have been members of the Chalampago community since World War II. I am proud to claim kinship to a line of strong, capable Chamorro women, starting with my grandmother, some of you may have known, Consolacion Valenzuela Castro, or Tanchong Chala, as she was called, matriarch of 14 children and the best cook I have ever known. Grandma was a fighter and a survivor of the difficulties and challenges following the liberation of Guam after World War II, and rose to the occasion when she was widowed at the young age of 52 to raise and bind her family together as a single mother. My mother, Josefina Castro Brennan Badley, Sofina Brennan as she was called, was also widowed at the young age of 52 and managed to keep our clan together with Sunday dinners and not the infrequent lecture on familial loyalty and responsibility. Mom was a force to be reckoned with, refusing to acknowledge her age, even as she donned her 3-inch heels and went dancing at the Elks Club. She was a long-time Government of Guam worker, tireless in her desire to make a better life for us all, one of the special generation who took the reins of government after the war, after it transitioned from a US military administration to a local one. Mom was one of the special ones, first in their fields to go to university in the mainland, first to hold high offices in the government, and first to manage the balancing act of raising a family and molding Guam in its infancy after the Organic Act was passed. Yet both Grandma and Mom managed to raise women of character, resolve, intelligence, and compassion. We are 4 women in our family who call ourselves Brennan, and Samantha has arguably the strongest moral compass of us all. Sammy, as we affectionately call her, is one of the smartest and strongest women I know. With the vast experience she has amassed in the fields of law enforcement over her 32 years in government service, including 4 years as a customs and quarantine officer, 4 years as a marshal with the judiciary, and 21 years as a probation officer and supervisor, she singularly is the most qualified person to hold the position of the Director of the Department of Corrections. Sam understands the importance of obtaining and maintaining federal assistance when needed. She understands the absolute necessity of good management of talent and staff, and recognizes the need to keep order in times of chaos and surprise. I believe she is uniquely suited for this position. When combined with the strength of character, resolve, determination, and compassion she has inherited from generations of capable, powerful Chamorro women, she can and will make a difference at DOC. Sammy will always do the right thing by the inmates of DOC, the communities it touches, and the people of Guam. She will always follow the letter of the law, and while being a natural team player, will never compromise her integrity or standards to be popular or to take the easier road. You can count on her to tackle problems head-on with the same integrity and intelligence she has utilized all her life, whether at home or at work. As her sister, I encourage you all to confirm her as Director of the Department of Corrections. As a member of this Guam community, I recommend her highly and hope that she will receive the support of this body, this administration, and the people of our island. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next in line, I want to call on Joey Terlaje. Go ahead, Joey.
Buenas danafade, manana si Diyos, good senator, para todos amjo lokwi ni mangagi gwini pogo na ogan, biba lokwi mes Chamorro. Inano si Joey Terlaje za guahu I segundo director para I departamento mangorihi. Finenina by noi amjo ni mangagi gwino hulo, undongklu na si Diyos masi na unayu no estina oportunidad para by husangan hafasya na rason na husapopot ti ST si Samantha Brenner para guida I Director Departamento Mangorihi. Good morning, everyone. My name is Joey Terlaje, and I am the Deputy Director of the Department of Corrections. First of all, I would like to take the opportunity to thank all of you for allowing me to share my thoughts to why I support Samantha Brenner to serve as the Director of Corrections. I've had the pleasure to work with Ms. Brennan for approximately 20-some years at the Judiciary of Guam, and now as the Deputy Director of the Department of Corrections. I feel that she is well qualified and a deserving candidate to serve in this role to bring positive change and success necessary to improve the department. Ms. Brennan had served 32 years in the government of Guam. 20 of those years of service were in law enforcement. She had continued to demonstrate initiative, dedication, commitment, and a more notable proactive approach to resolving issues, which I believe will result in promoting integrity, accountability, and transparency in which the people of Guam deserve. Ms. Brennan leads by example and does her best to make the right decisions. Her hard work and dedication to service is inspiring and motivating. In her new role as director, I've witnessed her commitment to build and foster an authentic relationship with the employees in efforts to create an organized and productive atmosphere. Please allow me to highlight some of the progress that Ms. Brennan has been involved with at the Department of Corrections in the short amount of time since becoming the acting director of DOC. With support from the Governor, Lulian Guerrero, and Lieutenant Governor Joshua Tenorio, Ms. Brennan was able to help the department find the resources to pay out the long-awaited overtime money that our hardworking, dedicated, and loyal employees deserve. Since this administration, the Department of Corrections has paid 7 pay periods of overtime that was due from late October 2018 to the end of January 2019, totaling $870,505. Ms. Brennan is working in collaboration with the Attorney General's Office to review and update policies, procedures, and memorandums at the Department of Corrections. Ms. Brennan has continued to work with the Department of Administration and BBMR to recruit for the much-needed personnel to help with the shortage of staff and reduce overtime costs at DOC. The recruitment is currently on continuous announcement with the Department of Administration. Ms. Brennan has maximized personnel to control the overtime at the Department of Corrections. 14 Special Operations Response Team members were placed back on post assignment with the platoons. Realignment of Internal Affairs Unit, which 2 officers and a major were also placed back on post assignment to help manage our daily operations. Ms. Brennan is currently working with the Guam Community College, who are currently assessing all uniformed personnel transcripts to ensure all uniformed officers are Peace Officer Standard of Training compliant. Continued training will be provided to meet the needs of our officers and to ensure that our officers are updated with the most recent, relevant, and realistic training that will keep them safe. The Department of Corrections has many stakeholders, one being the Judiciary of Guam and the Guam Trades Academy. Recently, the support from the Bureau of Statistics and Plans, the Judiciary assisted our agency in purchasing 15 construction core curriculum training manuals and a matrix therapist manual. Our request for their assistance was unexpected and sudden. However, as a true testament to our great working relationship, they were able to assist us. The curriculum and resources will be used to continue to provide the necessary skills in construction core curriculum with the Guam Trades Academy for the general population of our inmates. The cost for these resources was about $2,000. The relocation of our Central Processing Center from DOC Manilao to the Hagåtña Detention Facility has reduced the movements of detainees, utilizing less manpower and contributing to fuel savings. Our Central Processing Center also provides a centralized office for the processing of new arrestees that come in from other law enforcement agencies. This process has proven effective for the other law enforcement agencies because of less downtime, and it allows for them to maximize their services to our people. Ms. Brennan led the work performed by our DOC officers assigned to the Vocational Rehabilitative Services and the men from Post 24 to make upgrades and renovations to the residential Substance Abuse Treatment Program, that's RSAT, the building to ensure that we meet the treatment mandates and initiatives necessary for the men and women who need it. The Residential Substance Abuse Treatment Program started on February 25th and will run for a period of 6 months. 15 inmates are participating in this very important treatment program. Ms. Brenner will be working closely with New Beginnings from Guam Behavioral Health and Wellness Center to ensure that the aftercare components are addressed. She has provided active collaboration with the Department of Corrections together with other agencies, DPW, Parks and Rec, and the mayor's offices, to help clean up and assist in the beautification projects. Ms. Brennan has met with the team from the Guam Bureau of Statistics and Plans to see what assistance the department can get to start the process for technical assistance, to find resources to build a new Department of Corrections. Ms. Brennan is working continuously with the Honorable Governor and Lieutenant Governor and Senator Jose Pedo Terlaje to establish the rules and regulations to move forward with reopening of the commissary, which will lessen the smuggling of contraband into the facility and establish a new revenue source for the department. In closing, I humbly ask that you confirm Ms. Samantha Brennan's nomination as the Director of Corrections. Ms. Brennan has distinguished herself as a professional in the law enforcement community, consistently demonstrating exceptional work as a well-rounded, committed, honest, disciplined, and a public servant, a loyal public servant. It is this performance that demonstrates her commitment to serve our island. She will be an extreme asset to our community and to this department if she is given an opportunity to continue to serve as the Director of Corrections. Thank you, Mr. Masi.
Thank you very much, Joey. Next in line for the testimony is Sam Brenner. Is that Sam Brenner or Sam Barner? That thing is Brenner, right? Wait a minute. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on, because I was just going down the line. Vince Meno, please. Go ahead.
Good morning, Alpha Day Senators. First off, thank you for allowing me to testify at the confirmation hearing on behalf of Samantha Brennan for Director of Corrections. My name is Vince Meno. I've had the privilege of meeting and knowing this wonderful lady since 1996. We have been married for 18 years and have 4 children, 1 son-in-law and 1 daughter-in-law. Lauren Renee, Richard, Vaughn Ian, Jonathan Peter and Christina, and Franz Joel. We also have 4 beautiful grandchildren, Venice, Damien, Juan Pedro, and Josephine. Sam is the 4th born child to proud parents Josephine Castro Brennan Bali from Milinchala, from Chalampago, and William Dale Brennan from Ogden, Kansas. Bill Brennan was in the Air Force, was in the Armed Services in the Air Force, and was stationed in Guam after the Korean War, where he met and married Ms. Josephine Castro. Sam also has 3 sisters, Shirley, who is an entrepreneur, Connie Joe, who is works for the Port Authority of Guam, Deputy Director, Tina, who is an educator in the state of Washington, and 2 brothers, Willie, retired GPD officer, and Peter, who is also an entrepreneur. Sam started her law enforcement career as a customs and quarantine officer with the Department of Commerce. Then she moved to become a marshal of the Judiciary of Guam. In 1996, after receiving her bachelor's degree from the University of Guam, she moved within the judiciary to the probation office and assumed her role as a probation officer. In 2002, she received her master's degree in public administration and later moved to the adult drug court as the coordinator. In 2013, she was promoted to the rank of major probation office supervisor, and subsequently in September 2018, retired after almost 32 years of government service. With all the experience she has gained throughout her career in law enforcement, I truly believe that along with the proper support, she has all the necessary tools to build a better foundation for the Department of Corrections, a more conducive and secure working environment for its officers and administrative staff. The confidence bestowed upon her appointment by by Governor Lou Leon and Lieutenant Governor Joshua Tenorio is a testament to Sam's undying work ethics, commitment, and qualities to help move DOC forward. As a current member of the Guam Air National Guard, we live by what we call Air Force core values. Those core values are integrity first, service before self, and excellence in all we do. I can vouch for my wife, Sam, that she epitomizes those very values on a day-to-day basis. You can ask our kids. Lastly, I would like to thank you again for the opportunity to speak today and humbly ask for your support to confirm my wife, Samantha J. Brennan, for Director of Corrections. Thank you, Sejus Masi.
Thank you, Vince. Next in line for the testimony is Michelle Taitano.
Manana Sejus, Honorable Legislators, Sir, Committee Chair, how are you doing this morning? Just want to say thank you so much. I really appreciate our Governor, Lourdes Leon Guerrero, to nominate Miss Samantha Brennan. Sam and I have known each other for quite a long time, and I'm thankful to the Governor for appointing her. And I thank you for having this public hearing on her behalf today. Of course, I'm here to support her nomination. Sam has always been, we've known each other since, I'm going back, Sam telling stories, Kay, since junior high. And Sam has always been in leadership roles even back then. And we're a very close-knit graduating class of 79 from GW. And Senator Tello, she's smiling really big because our classes are tight too, 79 and 78. Anyway, Sam, through the years, has continued to show her leadership skills, even through planning our class reunions. She was 3 times president. Hard to do, even after we've graduated, but she helps continue to pull us together. So I'm really proud to be her classmate and continue to be here to support her. So I'm here also as the chairwoman of the Guam Parole Board. You all know I've been here before. And that is also a challenging position there. I'm hoping that as the first woman of the Department of Corrections, Sam will be able to work with us a little bit more closely, perhaps even putting some more resources on our side of the house to be able to, instead of warehouse individuals, to be able to put more resources into rehabilitation and outgoing processes, so that when folks are released from the prison, then they can actually have more success. We have the RSAT, which Joey just talked about, which is a good program, but we still have failures in that, unfortunately. That's the truth, I'm letting you know, because addictions are really difficult. So we have to have the program start inside, as well as during the transformation on being parole. We really need more parole officers, so I ask you that when she goes up for budgeting, and to consider specifically parole, so that those resources can go out into more of the rehabilitation side, more on getting folks ready to sustain themselves. We need, and there's a lot of need, and nobody wants to do a lot of this work. Folks inside who remain in the Department of Corrections, I'm sitting here and I've worked with these folks for a number of years already. It's a hard job, we all know. So I would thank you, I would appreciate that you would confirm her as the next Director for the Department of Corrections, because I do hope to work with her closely so that we can move forward with more programs on the parole side of the house. So thank you very much. God bless you guys.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you for your service also. You have been a long-time public servant.
You're welcome, sir.
Next in line for the testimony is my nephew, Joey Pukaigi. No, Joey? All right.
Hafade. Good morning, Senator Jose Terlaje and members of the 35th Guam Legislature. My name is Joey Pukaigi, Correction Officer 2 with the Department of Corrections. I've been with the department for a little over 16 years. I am a certified team leader under the U.S. Corrections Special Operations Group, Certified Correctional Emergency Response Team Master Instructor, and currently the officer in charge for the Training and Staff Development Section. I'm here to testify in support of our Acting Director, Samantha Brenner, in hopes that you will confirm her appointment as the Director of the Department of Corrections. Although I may not known Mrs. Brennan personally prior to her appointment as Acting Director, I've been given the privilege and the opportunity to work directly with her for the past 2 months. Mrs. Brennan brings a vast amount of knowledge and leadership skills to the department. She has demonstrated those qualities in the short period as our Acting Director. Our agency needs strong leadership, and with her willingness to lead a department faced with many challenges, I believe this speaks volumes of her commitment to serve not just our employees, but our community as well. I'm extremely confident that Mrs. Brennan is the right person to lead our department. I'm sure she will continue to maintain the core values of a law enforcement officer as she has throughout her career, and will most definitely bring additional ideas and perspective for the betterment of our department. I humbly ask to give her the opportunity to serve as our director. Jesus Masi.
Jesus Masi. Next in line is Alan Borra. Totomano, Alan?
Donya, sir.
Jesus Masi.
Basta my presence here alone is good enough. When is enough day, Senators? I'm Alan Borra, Warden for the Department of Corrections. I've been employed with the department going on 34 years. In the 2 months I've known Ms. Brennan, I see a person who's committed to move our department forward. It's a very difficult and relentless task. Most will shy from. People would say, what does she know about corrections? Well, I say the hardest part is just showing up for work, rolling up your sleeves and engaging, and she has done that the moment she walked into our doors. She's quickly adapted to our environment and acquiring a great understanding of corrections. With the support from our senators, I've been before this this panel before, we need manpower and funding. She can accomplish great things for our department. And again, my presence alone should say enough. I'm Alan Borra, I approve this message. For her confirmation, thank you.
Jesus Masi, Alan. Next in line is Dr. Taitano or Dr. Timinglo. I don't know if my eyes are playing tricks on me, but maybe it's just the writing also, right? Sorry.
Okay. My name is Dr. Patricia Leongrel Timinglo. This is my 5th year at the Department of Corrections serving as a clinical psychologist. Buenas and hafide hamza todos. I'm here in full support of the confirmation of Samantha Brennan as Director of Department of Corrections. She has been very clear-minded. She listens very carefully and comprehends the complex issues. More than that is she takes action. She's direct and respectful and conveys integrity in everything that I've seen her do. Her background and training emphasizes that she is best suited for this position as director. She understands the complexity of mental health services as our office navigates between the complex tasks and issues just within Department of Corrections, but also with GMH and Guam Behavioral Health. She also understands the complexity of my role, and in the brief time that we've been able to work with her, she has been understanding and very supportive. She supports psychological treatment, group therapy, and programs to address the therapeutic and rehabilitation needs of the 600 to 700 souls that are housed at DOC. Again, she has my full support, and it is my wish that she is confirmed. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Taiminglo. Next in line is my friend Po Suba, former police chief. Po, sangani ambi ajim magasmus taba.
Mr. Chairman, I live in Agate, but I've considered moving to Jolna more recently than ever. Hi, good morning, Mr. Chairman, and distinguished senators, guests, and appointee, and families. First of all, I'd like to commend and salute the men and women of the Department of Corrections because they do a fantastic job with little to no real honest to goodness support other than what we say, but I see them as the true heroes every day. They are the voice of the people that are confined. They are the voice, these folks in particular, of the employees and staff that face the dangers every day. And I'd like to say that they're the bridge between us and those that are incarcerated, and of course the victims of those that these individuals have committed crimes upon and in this community. But I'm not here today to reiterate those particulars that we're all aware of. I am here to say that I truly do support, and I've listened to great testimony about the appointee's character, and I have to say that I have to totally agree, not only about the character and integrity of Ms. Samantha Brennan, but the fact that she has performed very professionally throughout her career and her life, actually, both in her personal attributes and her professional, I would say, just productivity. She is, as you heard, someone who takes action. And I think although she has all these wonderful attributes and great distinguished service, it's going to take all of us. And I guess that's why I'm here, not just to say I support her and I'm confident she'll get confirmed, but she's going to need all our support. And these men and women will need all our support. I like what I'm hearing from this team because she has a great assistant director, deputy director, and I think he's going to do a fantastic job up there. But I really believe that the name Department of Corrections is going to transition from what it's been, what it should have been, what it is, a prison, to a real correctional facility under their leadership and supporting these people here. You heard that they're going to need that help as far as transitioning true addicts, people that couldn't help themselves, that got into this downward spiral. And it's going to take the entire community to support this team. So, much said, enough said from me, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Paul. It's good to see you again. You know, ma'am, your name is not on the list, but can I ask you to go ahead and do your testimony?
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Chairman and distinguished senators. My name is Teresa Camacho Tayama. I am an employee at the Department of Corrections, and I'm here to testify in favor of Samantha Brennan's appointment as Director of the Department of Corrections. I came to know Samantha in 1989 when she came on board as a marshal at the Superior Court of Guam. Samantha and I were colleagues for 7 years until I moved away from Guam in 1996. Samantha transferred from the Department of Customs and moved to the Marshal Division as my replacement. So she always says that we will always be bonded forever in our careers. Together, we were part of a small cadre of women in judiciary law enforcement. We were a pretty tight-knit group, as there weren't many of us in those days. One thing I appreciated about Samantha back then was her serious commitment to her duties and responsibilities as a marshal. She had goals and aspirations in her early career, which thus far, through her hard work and commitment, will come to fruition today, or hopefully in the next month. Back then, Samantha was a new kid on the block, but she had the capability to speak her mind in a man's world. Samantha is mentally tough and always had a mature attitude about her work. Samantha dealt well with the public and had appropriate use of her authority. Back in the mid-'80s, we as women in law enforcement relied on grit, focus, and determination to make it, and we had to work harder to earn respect and value among our male counterparts. Time has brought significant improvement in the past 30 years in her career, and so we can appreciate that Samantha was a part of that movement in law enforcement history when women overcame the challenges of that era. Fast forward from 30 years, Samantha, as the adult drug court coordinator, led the transition into the new model of therapeutic treatment to evidence-based practices. I am honored to know her, and this is why I have full confidence in expressing my support for her today. I believe that under her leadership, we will improve the way we conduct business within all three branches of government in order to improve the gaps in services within the Department of Corrections to the police department to out in the community. Samantha's natural style of communication is direct. She will say what she feels and will not leave you guessing as to her opinion or sentiment when asked. This will be her strength for the major challenges that come with running the Guam prison. Some of the changes implemented in the past 2 months, as Deputy Director Terlaje mentioned, shows that she has an understanding of security risk assessment and management. She and our Deputy Director possess a wealth of knowledge in law enforcement practice, as well as the training credentials that will serve beneficial for the corrections security staff, as well as the Casework and Counseling Services Division and the Forensic Unit, which I oversee. It is my hope that their emphasis on training and staff development will help to enhance the image of our agency, as well as to retain, empower, and promote competent and dedicated officers and civilian personnel. This will also help protect the safety and welfare of staff, as well as solve problems that exist in the prison. Samantha has a formal education, the work experience, and the competence to run the prison as its director. In the brief time of her appointment, Samantha has already made some improvements within the facility in support of our treatment programs. She has also implemented change that supports the medical clinic operations that Dr. Taimanglo has spoken of earlier. I will provide her with my full support as my director, and I ask for your approval and appointment today. Thank you for this opportunity, and thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Therese, right? Okay. Okay, next in line, we want to get the principal for this confirmation to give us her insight. Thank you very much, Samantha.
Hafaday and good morning, Honorable Chairman, Senator Terlaje, and esteemed members on the Committee of Public Safety, Border Safety, Military and Veterans Affairs, Mayor's Council, Infrastructure, and Public Transit. My name is Samantha Brennan, and I'm honored and humbled to be here today before you, seeking your support for my confirmation to be Director of Corrections. I want to thank Governor Lulian Guerrero and Lieutenant Governor Joshua Tenori for having confidence in me to carry out the duties of the department and the goals of the administration. I also want to thank my family and friends that are here today to support me. Mr. Chairman and Senators, my entire public career service has been dedicated to law enforcement. It was not just a career path for me, it was a calling from a very young age, and was inspired by my late father, William Dale Brennan, and my oldest brother. As a child, I looked up to my father, who left the Air Force after 10 years and then became a fire inspector with the Federal Fire Department. I was intrigued with his career and the discipline that he displayed. During my senior year of high school, my older brother Willie joined the Guam Police Department, and I realized I wanted to be just like him and join the field of law enforcement. In 1989, my law enforcement career started as a customs and quarantine officer with the Department of Commerce during a female recruitment cycle. During my time there, I was fortunate to be selected as a recipient of the Pedro Sanchez Scholarship at the University of Guam to pursue my undergraduate degree in public administration. In 1993, I moved to the judiciary during a female recruitment initiative and began my career as a deputy marshal and continued my education, graduating in 1996 with a degree in public administration. The following year, I transitioned into probation and began my career as a probation officer and later obtained my master's degree in public administration under the Doc Sanchez program. In 2006, I was promoted and became the adult drug coordinator, where I became immersed in training and knowledge of evidence-based practices and in changing mindsets from punitive to that of more empathy for non-violent drug offenders. Eventually, I was promoted to the rank of Major Probation Officer Supervisor, and during that time was assigned to the Pretrial Services Office. It was there that we adopted the evidence-based tool called the Ohio Risk Assessment System Pretrial Assessment Tool, also known as ORAS-PAT, a risk and needs assessment tool used to assist judges in making decisions to release or confine an offender. This tool that I helped implement is currently being utilized by the casework staff at DLC, which assists them with program choices and placement. So we have all come full circle and are all utilizing the same training to assist offenders. During my short tenure so far at the Department of Corrections, I have seen firsthand some of the challenges facing our agency in the areas of recruitment, overtime, infrastructure, and more. I've been working diligently with our team, including Deputy Director Joey Terlaje and the Leongra Tenorio administration to address these issues, and we are seeing success. In the areas of recruitment, we face many challenges due to the new post-commission law requirements. For instance, in order to qualify as a Correction Officers 1, an individual needs a high school diploma and the EN 100 course. This has become an issue as most applicants don't have the EN 100 course. So while we continue to navigate the challenges of recruiting new officers, I am hopeful that by working together with DOA and our lawmakers, we can address these issues to help increase our ability to recruit and carry out the DLC mission. Overtime has historically been a huge area of concern. That was one of the first issues I began to tackle when I was appointed, and we did this by immediately assessing rotation and time schedules. We recently paid out 7 pay periods, as my Deputy Director mentioned, totaling since October of last year for a total of $870,505. By changing the roster from 5 days on, 2 days off, 12-hour shifts, to 4 days on, 3 days off, we are reducing the overtime, allowing more time for our officers with their families. Progress is slow, but I hope once we recruit more officers, we can continue to reduce overtime. However, overtime will always occur depending on the situation or circumstance and due to the nature of our work. We just have to continue our efforts to recruit and to better manage our rotations, time schedules, and the resources bestowed upon us. Infrastructure continues to be on the forefront of challenges for us, but we are working to eventually have a master plan in place for our correctional facility. We are aggressively pursuing federal funds for this endeavor and are excited about the possibilities before us. We look forward to designing and building a state-of-the-art facility to reduce manpower and overall cost. We will work with the National Institute of Corrections on this worthwhile project to develop and maintain the master plan for design plans, standards, and a management strategy to address forecasted growth, reduce recidivism, and help with the reintegration of our rehabilitated prisoners. Although we have many programs in place at the Department of Corrections, there is still so much more we can do to help rehabilitate and prepare the prisoners for integration into society. Our RSAT facility was renovated and started after a 6-month delay. We currently have 15 inmates participating in the program and look for graduations in this graduation date of August 2019. We'll be working with New Beginnings at the Guam Behavioral and Wellness Center toward the end of the program for an additional 6 months aftercare. But more than the challenges facing us, I am inspired by the positive elements inside our prison system. from our dedicated correction officers and administrative staff to the men and women who are entrusted into our care. We are truly blessed at the Department of Corrections, and I am excited for the possibilities before us. Mr. Chair and fellow senators, I have worked my way up through the ranks of each agency I've been honored to be a part of, and I will lead by example. I believe I have the abilities to move the Department of Corrections forward to become more accountable with overtime issue, implementing more evidence-based practices and other programs to help our inmates become rehabilitated and receive more assistance. I hope to bridge the gap between other agencies and move them forward, focusing on treatment, rehabilitation, reducing recidivism, and population. I also hope to be able to change the mindset inside and out of our prison. Nearly all of our prisoners will one day return into our community, so I believe we should approach their incarceration with that in mind, giving them the skills, the knowledge, and the confidence in themselves so that they can one day be productive members of our island. I am also grounded in the belief that prisoners should be treated with dignity because one day they won't be inmates anymore. If we can treat them with respect any of us would want and the dignity every human deserves, it would be the start of something promising, not just for the inmates, but for society as a whole. Mr. Chairman and fellow senators, I am so blessed to be sitting here today before you. I ask for your favorable consideration for my nomination, and I'm ready to answer any questions you may have. Thank you, Suduas Masi.
Thank you, Ms. Brenner. Is there anybody in the audience that wants to testify? Come up to the front, Parole. This is Mr. San Nicolas. Parafa be faisin tautomonos tautunga. Anyway, go ahead. Go ahead, Parole.
Good morning, Senator. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to come and testify. My name is Benny San Nicolas, and I'm from Inarahan. And I am very glad to be speaking at this time and be able to hear the positive testimony from the Deputy Director, Joy Terlaje, and the candidate herself. Just hearing her speak very positively on the outlook of the role that she'll be handling. I like her confidence, and I like her attitude in addressing all the issues that she'll be facing. And from hearing her background, she has the qualifications, the experience. So I believe that she will make an excellent director for the Department of Correction. At this time also, I would like to thank the governor for nominating her or appointing her for the position. And I am here then to support her confirmation, and I would like to ask you to please confirm her. Thank you.
Thank you, Lord Benny. So kuna punsangan tautozo no talo anyway. Anyway, because one of my colleagues has got another pressing schedule, I want to allow Mars Titano to go ahead and make comments or ask questions, if you will. Go ahead, Mars.
Buenas and Hafade, Manana Situus. And thank you all. I mean, we have a wonderful set of people here that are testifying. They've come here to show that visible support, and so that's wonderful to see. And I must mention that I did go to elementary in Sonia, so I think that's partly how I got to ask my question
very much.
Before I leave. It was so good to hear both from your testimony, some of the other testimony, and especially the Deputy Director, to see how proactive you've been since you've been in place. All of those transitions and changes, I mean, they really speak to being a person who has identified issues and will take a really active stance towards coming up with solutions. One of the questions that I have is you mentioned the master plan and this opportunity for building a state-of-the-art facility. And in some of the conversations that I had last year with some of the people who work at DOC, they had mentioned the possibility of looking for a new site, and so I wanted to hear some of your perspectives, whether the state-of-the-art facility you're looking at would be on-site, or if you're looking at another site, and give us a chance to hear a little bit about your vision.
Thank you, ma'am, for the question. Currently, what we're looking at is on-site. We haven't discussed, there's had been no discussion about anywhere else other than on-site at this time. And so we're going to be looking forward to technical assistance through the National Institute of Corrections to come out and look at our facility now and see how we can make it work and get a master plan and stuff and do a state-of-the-art facility so that we can do a bunch of things like reduce the not officers, but we can reduce all the extra overtime and stuff that we currently are doing at this time.
So if it was an ideal situation, if there was the ability to relocate, do you think that there's that would be a positive move? One of the challenges that I heard is just that there's so much access with where you're presently located. So just if you could speak to that a little bit, is there any interest in looking elsewhere, or I know we can always make do and build and improve where we are, but
again, at this time, there's been no discussion about moving anywhere else. I think one of the issues is where would we move and who would accept us? So at this point, we're just talking about where we're at currently.
And just to throw it out there, and I don't know that it has any realistic application at all, but so in that discussion, we had talked about it's just that very factor. It does become very difficult to find a new location. It does take a lot of consideration and so forth. But I had suggested that if there was any place near, if we're looking at that one Guam approach, if there was anywhere near a military facility, that there could actually kind of be this shared approach in a sense, because they would have to be guarding one part or another side to it. They had suggested ideally a location up north, which got me to thinking, I mean, again, I don't know if that has any practical application, and it would take a whole lot of other considerations, but just kind of throwing that out there. Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, Senator Mars. Let me just go to my farthest right here and start from there, and maybe after that we go down to the left.
Hafide, thank you, Mr. Chair, and Hafide, thank you very much for accepting the appointment, and congratulations to you. I heard a lot of positive testimony today about your qualifications, about you being very hardworking and already engaged, and as Senator Saitino said, proactive in the first 2 months that you've been on board. So thank you very much for that. And I appreciated your testimony about the residential substance abuse treatment program that you have had a hand in implementing already in the first 2 months. And so bringing your experience from the adult drug court and all of your experience throughout your career, do you think that this residential substance abuse treatment program, that with just the 15 inmates being helped for the 6 months program, is this sufficient for the needs of DOC, or are you looking to perhaps expand this, or what your ideas are for more intense rehabilitation?
Currently, we are working with what we can. However, I disagree with just, I should say, our RSAT program only houses 15 people. That's all we can do. That's at its max. However, I think working with the judiciary and working with other agencies, with New Beginnings as well, and from Guam Behavioral, that, and with the training that our casework has, and also hiring new more additional social workers to work with the Department of Correction, that we should be able to get more treatment, drug and alcohol treatment for other individuals outside of the RSAT program. So that is something currently that I want to look into, but it requires manpower in order to do it, but definitely is something that we need to expand and move forward towards.
Okay, thank you very much. And I also wanted to ask about what are your plans for the hepatitis infection treatment for the department?
Senator Souchin, that's an issue under the GMH and stuff, and so I would have to defer to GMH to answer that further, because I am not a medical professional. In working with them, they've explained some of the stuff to me, and but I would actually defer to them.
Okay, sure. Okay, another question I wanted to ask is, what is the capacity for the prison right now, and do you think that and what is the population at this time?
The population as of yesterday was, I believe, 600, and I actually brought it. On a daily basis, we have our population that we manage. And so as of yesterday, there were 677. 677 total. We have 14 that are off island, and then it's broken down into all the different units, and then we have the federal and the local detainees as well, and inmates and detainees on the local and the federal side. So I could give you a list of everything and stuff, but at this point it's 677 max that we have under us. However, 14 are off island, so currently on island there's 663.
And what can the facilities hold? What's the max capacity?
Ma'am, we're over maxed.
Okay.
At this point, we're way over max.
Sure.
But the standard.
Well, I want to hear. Yeah, I want to hear it because I want to know in the new facility what the needs will be. So yeah, that's why I was looking to hear that. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I also wanted to ask about any partnerships with GCC or any other education program for the opportunity for education or GEDs for the prisoners.
I believe our casework is working on that. We do have a program currently going with our casework where we do have a GED program that's already in place in working with GCC. And the flip side of that, for our law enforcement officers and stuff, we were wanting to collaborate with GCC when we do have our next cycle. But in addition to that, I have 165 officers, I believe, including our parole, and majority of them are not post-compliant. So our goal, the Deputy Director and I's goal, is to do our best to find the funds to put up mini academies so that we can get our officers to become post-compliant so they can keep their jobs. Because I believe in January 2020, that's the cutoff. And so we're going to work really hard to make that happen. But due to the platoons, we have different platoons, it's going to be difficult, but we will definitely put our best foot forward and do our best to get everybody post-certified.
Okay, thank you.
Senator Castro, go ahead.
Thank you. Madam Director, your qualifications are extremely impressive, and your character is certainly not in question today. And Mr. Chairman, forgive me, it's off script. So if I could continue in your good graces by knowing that gentleman from Zonia, I could proceed. I actually just have one question for you, Madam Director. The previous administration put in a lot of work, as I'm sure other administrations did, to see that the consent decree was lifted in April of last year. Based on your assessment in the time served thus far, or maybe even in consultation with the senior staff of your agency, do you see any chances of compromise, of non-compliance, falling out of favor with meeting those requirements that allowed us to have the consent decree lifted?
At this point, sir, we are compliant and stuff, and we remain compliant. On my watch, we would definitely remain compliant. And we would do our best to being compliant with everything that the consent decree requires, and so far we are doing our job.
Okay, that's it, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Castro. She's always reminding me her name is Senator Taitagui, not Terlaje. Go ahead, my favorite.
Taitano, it's everything but Taitagui. First, Biba GW. Classes 78 and 79. And I see everyone here is here to support you, Sam. But let me first say congratulations for being the first woman director of DOC. Congratulations to that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am.
You definitely broke that glass ceiling there. And I'd like to also congratulate the deputy director too as well. Congratulations. My colleagues, you know, when you come about third in line, they ask all the questions that you wanted to ask. So first, I know that you're very capable of doing this job. I've known you for a long time. You've been a tough woman. I think, you know, hand in hand, but I've also known you to be very compassionate. I saw that side of you when our good friend Scotty left us. And I know that that compassion will take you a long way, especially when it comes to the correction officers, you know, to make sure you got the best for them in your heart. So she does, even though she's tough, you know, she does. And another thing too is when your sister mentioned earlier about being the bond that holds you together, the sisters together. And you know, my sister is very good friends with your sister. And then I saw you tearing up a little bit on that, and it brought a tear to my eye too, to have that kind of love from your family. Because you're like the third to the youngest, if I'm not mistaken. And to have that kind of impact to your own family says a lot about your character, your love, and I greatly appreciate that. So the only real question that I have for you is at the administrative level, you know, with your supervisors, your deputy director as well. How are you going to improve the collaboration between this level, administrative level, and the collaboration between you and your officers, to bring together more of a work perspective with each other? Because I know there's always been a disconnect at DOC, and it's really, you know, having your director, your supervisors all work together. How are you improving that area that's always seemed to be an issue at DOC?
And coming aboard and bringing all our supervisors forward and having meetings and stuff. First, I want to say our correction officers, our warden, our majors, our lieutenants and stuff, they are the subject matter experts when it comes to DOC. I am not. So I defer to them on many occasions because they have the knowledge, they have the institutional knowledge that can bring us forward. Just coming together and bringing them forward and stuff and getting their ideas and listening to them and stuff is key to keep us all, to make us become collaborative together, to make it work. And we may not always agree, we may agree to disagree. However, I think it's in the best interest for everybody that we decide on an action and we move forward. But again, our administrative staff is great. Our officers and stuff are great and stuff, and I think at this point we're just putting a lot of structure into the department and moving forward from there. And it's as simple as everybody coming in wearing your ID and stuff. It was just, a lot of it was really back to basic, but it's just working closely with the warden and the majors and lieutenants and setting the example there so that everybody else can follow those leads.
I appreciate that, because that has been the disconnect in the past, to have this collaborative effort between the supervisors and the administration of DOC. So I greatly appreciate that and look forward to you moving forward. And you definitely have my support. And I appreciate you stepping up to the plate.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I need to be careful not to say Terlaje. Taitagui, Senator Taitagui, thank you very much. To my immediate left, I want to give the opportunity to my good friend, Jim Moylan. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Brennan, congratulations there. Yeah, I think it's important that we have the background that you do for correctional work, public safety, so you definitely fit the bill. If you were from Jotnya, maybe that would be even better, but it's all right. I'm not from Jotnya. But you remind me of my days at corrections when I used to have a director, Bob Klitsky. He's a guy, but you're a lady, and I think you're even stronger from hearing all the testimonies that I've been listening to. In your testimony, also you hit a lot of the key points in the transition report. So I'm glad for that. I remember back in the 90s when I used to work for the chief over there, Mike Kanata, we had things we had to work on as well for the master plan. And back then in the 90s too, our population was overcrowded as well. Not as much as it is what you have, but it was still overcrowded then. One question I do have that we used to do at the parole office, I'm not sure of how things have changed or not, but immigration status and the type of crimes that are committed, some support the deportation of that by the U.S. immigration. So I remember in my days, we used to get them out, has their sentence commuted, and then right away they went on to, turned over to the immigration officer, and they're on a plane. So though I understand we need a new president, it's going to cost money, and I understand we need more inmates, and, more correctional officers, more parole officers, and it's all going to take money. But in the meantime, maybe this immigration status can assist us in reducing some of our population based on current laws. So I'm hoping you'll be able to look into that and possibly help reduce our population with that in mind. Is that something that you'll be considering in the future here?
We just met with Rodney Sayama from Immigration. We did meet with them. We had a brief meeting with him, and we had some discussions and about that. And so we're working with him, and we'll be meeting again to further those discussions and find out exactly what their plan is to make sure that the plan works with what we're able to do, and then we're going to move forward from there.
Thank you very much. And I'm looking forward to seeing you doing great things for the Department of Corrections. Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Jim. Senator Terlaje, go ahead. Teresa Terlaje, go ahead.
Thank you all for your testimony this morning. It's very helpful to us that you all testified on different aspects of the nominee. And I want to congratulate you and also the deputy on these assignments and your approach to them. So I very much appreciate your testimony, that it's full of what you've actually done at DOC to show us your approach to this and how the officers are also responding, I guess. I think in particular, DOC had a lot of bad press in the last couple years, and so it's very important who's there and that we're going to build the public's trust, and that we are going to also ensure the public that it is efficient and that it's transparent and that it's meeting its mission, and that we are taking care of the safety of everyone who's working there and the safety of the inmates, because that is our job up there. I very much appreciate that you've addressed overtime. That's very important, and not only did you take care of paying it, I'm very curious where that came from, but that you also have addressed it going forward, that you've restructured schedules so that overtime is less of a burden on the budget, and so that you are able to use your budget to do other things, I'm hoping, and I thank you for that. So the recruitment, the infrastructure, the master plan, the evidence-based practices, this is the trend all over the nation. So, and I know you really are the leader in this at the court, so I'm glad that this is all going to be same across the board, very similar approaches to this assessments, and rehabilitation, of course, treatment, rehabilitation, and the goal is to reduce recidivism. And so everything that you are doing there, and with your partnerships, is, I can see that the goal is very clear for you, and so I'm feeling very good that DOC has a very good shot at getting to really complete its mission in a very efficient way, and that we are really going to gain the public's trust in this, and we are here to help you in that.
So congratulations again, and whatever it is that you think, I appreciate that you're taking care of costs while you want to expand.
Yes,
so
ma'am.
that I very much. So, and thank you to all of you from DOC who have been working all these years, many, many years, many of you. So thank you for your dedication to that. It's a very tough place to work. And so I thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Senator Terlaje. Next in line, Senator Sabrina Perez. Go ahead, Senator.
Thank you, Chair. I also want to reiterate mimic the comments that my colleagues have mentioned. I must admit that when I first heard your name, I was very excited to see that the governor chose somebody whose interest was in rehabilitation and had a long history with probation. That's very promising to me. I think your accomplishments have, it speaks volumes, and not only in the short time that you have become director of Department of Corrections. So I look forward to your approach and your leadership moving forward. And thank you for your service and accepting this nomination.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Senator. Senator Bisculi, go ahead, ma'am.
Suzus Masi, Mr. Chair, and thank you so much to all of you for being here today, for participating in this process, and providing very valuable testimony for this committee on the appointment of Ms. Samantha Brennan. And Ms. Brennan, I just really want to thank you for accepting the governor's nomination. I want to thank your family who is here to support you, and hopefully, if confirmed, they'll continue to support you, because it is going to be a really difficult, challenging job, and it's going to take not just all of your time and attention, but lots of support from them. So I want to thank them in advance for their service to the island in this capacity. It was mentioned before by my colleagues and by your deputy, this long-standing concern about overtime. So I also want to thank you for addressing, for managing our resources in this way, and I want to thank you in advance for working to really reduce the costs when it comes to this, and to make sure that our corrections officers have enough time to debrief after their long shifts, and they get some time to have a respite and then come back refreshed and ready to really focus and give their best to their job. So I really want to thank you for that. We've also had many challenges over the years with regard to recruitment, and you had mentioned it in both of your testimonies about EN 100 and a number of other issues. So I wanted to ask you if DOC has an active recruitment effort open at DOA, and if so, how many personnel are you looking at?
DOA has an announcement for Correction Officer 1 that is open. It's not closing at all. And so they continue to get applications sent in to them. The last time we checked, I think there was 40. I believe there was only 21 out of the 40 or so applicants that had submitted, 21 that actually had qualified with the EN 100. However, out of that 21, that they still had to vet it and look at to see if they had all the other qualifications before moving forward. You take the 21, and then they are given a test. They are given a written test. So then they have to go through that section of the testing process. And if they pass that test, then they move forward to the next. So at this point, we actually had some trying to recruit some reemployment officers that had left the agency and wanted to come back for reemployment, but we're stuck at that point. We also had some limited term that we tried to pick up and stuff, but we're stuck at that point too. It's been very difficult because even our reemployment, even with the budget that we're allowed to recruit and bring back retirees, but we're stuck in that as well because they require the English, then they require the polygraph, they require all the other requirements, the psych eval, as well as a background check. So we can't even get it past a portion of DOA in order to move forward. So the Post Commission meets on the 28th of this month, and I believe the issue of EN 100 is going to be addressed, and hopefully that we're able to mitigate that and move forward and get some kind of resolution, because it not only affects the Department of Correction, it is affecting the other law enforcement agency as well.
Thank you very much, and I can appreciate some of those challenges. I'm glad that you're bringing it forward so that the community can understand, but also that the members of this committee can have just a better understanding of the challenges that you're facing. We often hear that the recruitment process is really cumbersome, that it's, especially for DOC. So as acting director, can you suggest any process improvements that might maintain the integrity of the folks that we are looking to hire, but that can get you the recruits more quickly?
Notwithstanding the law, ma'am, if I could say and get the approval to do emergency recruitment, then that would be something I would ask for and stuff. But because of the law, I'm not sure if we could do that. But we need people immediately, and at this point, our hands are tied. And again, it goes back to what the law states, as well as what the Post Commission put in place. And so all of that needs to be reviewed and looked at before we can actually move forward. So unfortunately, I don't have a magic answer other than if we could have emergency procurement, that would be great. My officers here would be so ecstatic because they work so hard. They work the 12-hour shifts. Sometimes they're working 18-hour shifts. And sometimes their 3 days off becomes 1 day because they get recalled because somebody didn't come in due to illness or some other valid reason. And so we're constantly short, but we're doing the best that we can. So with all the senators' help here, perhaps you can assist us, and then we can assist ourselves. But at this point, our hands are tied. But again, I emphasize emergency recruitment, maybe working with the governor's, this administration and the governor's office, that's something we can look at. But I don't know, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have heard from several of the folks who provided testimony this morning that you really bring people together, both in your family and in the community, that you are constantly engaging stakeholders. And so I just want to thank you for your work already with DPW, Parks and Rec, with the mayors, to really promote those or continued cleanup efforts and the beautification of our island. I think that's going to be really critical as we're constantly battling illegal dumping and other things with regard to our environment. But also in terms of engaging stakeholders, your previous colleagues, with regard to the aftercare component. And I know that Dr. Timenglow had mentioned that as well, and I think Mr. Terlaje also mentioned it in his testimony. So I just wanted to give you an opportunity to speak a little bit to the committee about the aftercare component and how you might be making improvements to that.
So with the RSAT program, it's a 12-month program. You do 6 months inpatient, which is at DOC. And then once they're released through parole and stuff, then they go up to New Beginnings with Guam Behavioral, and they do the additional 6 months and stuff. They follow the matrix model program and stuff, so that's all part of a treatment module that most of GovGuam is currently following. I know the court's following it and because of what Guam Behavioral wanted to do so that we can have, everybody can be on the same page. So in light of that, our RSAT program facilitators and our program individuals there are running the first portion of it and stuff and teaching them. And then when they go up to New Beginnings and stuff, and it's just a collaborative wraparound treatment that we're trying to do, and so that we can have success in the end, and that we can truly, truly look at it from that perspective, that we can rehabilitate them and then give them options other than what they're used to, and to expand their mindset, and thinking for a change that they can look at it through different eyes and stuff, and then hopefully move forward and become better citizens within our community.
Thank you very much for your testimony, for accepting the governor's nomination. Some of the words that were used to describe you earlier today, the word integrity came up, the word compassion, and I just want to thank you in advance for bringing both of those things to your job. We're really going to be counting on you to take this role on. It's a difficult one, but I look forward to supporting your nomination and to give you that continued support as best as we can from the legislature. So thank you so much, Ms. Brennan. I appreciate you.
Thank you, too.
Thank you very much, Senator Lee. Senator Torres, go ahead.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, I'd like to yield my time to read a statement from a constituent who asked that I speak on his behalf because he wasn't able to come here. But on my behalf, though, I just want to let you know, Mrs. Brennan, that I have full confidence in your ability to be effective in the Department of Corrections. And I will now read the statement. Hafaday Senator, I'm aware of Samantha Brennan's confirmation hearing this Wednesday. I am texting you to convey my support for her nomination as the Director of Department of Corrections. I've known Sam since the 70s and have worked with her and supervised her during her tenure as a Deputy Marshal. She has all the work knowledge, the education, the work experience as an acting manager at the Judiciary of Guam's Probation Office, and of course as it relates to the leadership qualities and responsibilities of our correctional institution. Before my retirement as the Marshal of the Courts in 2016, I've witnessed her hard work in which she was very instrumental as a committee member with the Judiciary of Guam's initiative to improve its security program, subsequent to an assessment by the National Center of State Courts. Before my retirement from the Guam Air National Guard enlisted leadership position in 2012, I witnessed her dedication as a member of a spouse support group, which consumed a lot of her free time, to support members of the Guam Air National Guard during a high deployment time in support of Operation Enduring Freedom and Operation Iraqi Freedom. I am positive she will utilize all of her favorable background and experiences at the Department of Corrections. She's a prime choice, exclamation point. If I could, I would be present for her confirmation hearing. However, my attendance conflicts with an in-law's funeral schedule. Please vote in favor of Samantha Brennan's confirmation for the Director of Corrections. Thank you, and Sizuus Maasi. Sincerely, Edward Tovis, retired Marshal of the Courts, Judiciary of Guam, and he is also a private business owner. And with that, I read that into the record, and I will provide a hard copy of this transmission. And Sizuus Maasi.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Senator Torres. I just want to bring up some of the things that that we talked about, Samantha, regarding some of the things that we want to do to invigorate the problems, not invigorate the problems, but invigorate some of the things that we need to really come up for DOC to come up to standard. You didn't mention recidivism, right? So there's a whole lot of people that go out of jail and then coming back, and you know, that's recidivism. Is there anything that we can do? Because my proposal to this problem is maybe we can recommend alternative sentencing for some of the people that committed misdemeanor and below to be part of that program, so that we can stop this recidivism, you know, people going back. And the reason why I say that, because, you know, with the law that we have within our government, is that if you have been arrested, you know, you have a hard time trying to get back to work with the government. And, you know, in general, our population is dependent on Governor Guam because of the security. Not the money, but because of the security that they get working for the Governor Guam. And, you know, I was wondering if we can do that approach, and because I'm willing to really meet up with the judges and all that, to really kind of just do something about this. Because we need to give these people the opportunity to go on in life and support their family, and not condemn these people for the rest of their life just because they committed a crime. They pay for their crime, and they're out of jail, but they can't find any work. So what are they going to do? They're going to go out and commit a crime again, and they're back again. Another thing that I wanted to raise is one of the things that I talked to Joey. I don't know, I don't remember talking to you about this, because, you know, we call it Department of Correction. And you remember mass burn that got killed at DOC, one of the guards up there. So what I wanted to, and I need your insight on this one, if we can do a change of name and call it Mass Burn Correctional Facility. Would that be an appropriate name if we ever come into that decision to change the name of Department of Correction? Because, you know, we need to honor Mass Burn, because, you know, it's been a very, you know, he represents the security, DOC in the best of his ability. And we need to really remind ourselves that this is one guy that has been forgotten, and he was killed up there. So what is your take on that one?
First and foremost, I think Officer Mashbaran is not forgotten, because I know every May that we do honor him. And secondly, I would have to defer to my team and talk to them and ask the deputy director and look at it from the whole perspective in terms of we're going to change their name or not. I would have to just go back and ask everybody their opinions and stuff like that, and bring it forward to you thereafter.
And you know what? I just want to really thank you for, you've been to my office several times, and we talk about things that we need to do to really make the services, maintain the requirements that we need to do as a Department of Correction, and I thank you very much for that one. Another thing that I wanted to bring up is maybe the land reservation. I know you're overpopulated at the DOC for the longest time. So several weeks ago, I just got 2-acre lot for the Mass Transit Authority, and I was really impressed with the process, because I put in a bill, and it was approved several weeks later. So now the Mass Transit Authority now has a piece of property up at Public Works. So what I want to do is maybe go in with a bill and check with the land management or the land trust to kind of just look. But I need your required size of land area that can accommodate the whole total activities of the Department of Correction. So I'll be talking to you regarding that, because we do need a new facility. And for the longest time, I've heard about the overpopulated, and this is why I brought up the thing on recidivism. Another thing that I wanted to bring up is, we talk about post-compliance. And maybe if we go into the post-compliance, we need to go into a AAA process, right? Because, I was up at the meeting for the post, and my plan for this one is to maybe, because, if you join before you become a police officer, a first step police officer or Department of Correction officer, right? You first off need to have that certification as a postgraduate police officer standard, requirement, right? Because that's the act. So in terms of that, there's a problem with EN 100. And what I'm saying is that EN 100 is what is cutting back the recruitment process, because that's our requirement. So what I am recommending is that introduce that EN 100 during the cycle of the term for the Belaya program, and include the police training, and expand that for 6 months. And upon graduation of the Belaya and merging that up with the initial police training, maybe we can give those applicants an additional of 5 points. So that if they don't meet the required passing grade, maybe we can apply that 5 points, so we can get them to join the police department. It's easier said than done, but this is some of the things that is really holding back the recruitment in the police officers. There's 30 police officers that are pending to be entered in the police department, and I know there's 21 correction officers that you need. And of course, if you're going to recruit for the 21 officers and making that announcement, I don't think that if they don't have the post certification, I don't think it's going to go through the Department of Administration. And yet the hardest part there is the EN 100. So I'm recommending that we do the EN 100 during the cycle of that 6 months. And after that, because when I started going to college, if you was to really not go through the EN 100 class, all they do is they give you a composition to write. And when I found that out, I memorized the composition that I'm going to take. So I passed it. You know, I tricked the university, right? So I memorized the composition that I'm going to write. So, you know, that saved me 4 months of going to class for that EN 100. And, you know, it's not that I'm tricky, but I'm a little bit smarter than what do you take me for?
Okay.
I just want to thank each and every one. It kind of just bothers me if I don't recognize some of my friends here that I grew up with. The former mayor of Jigo, Bob Lizama. We were mayors at one time, and we worked together. I want to mention your brother. One thing about your brother is very smart, but sometimes he's very agawat too, right? So. And also, I want to recognize the chief of police. He used to work for me, and then he became chief of police. So I quit the police department. Anyway, thank you all for your positive input on this one. And let me just say this: that with the relationship that I have here and the testimony that was presented, those positive testimony, I wish I was going out for confirmation and have these people, you know, testify on my behalf. But for sure, I think my colleagues here are very impressed with the presentation that you made. I never said in the beginning that Joe is my son, but he's from Jonya. That's all, you know. But you know, the testimony was very positive. It is very enthusiastic presentation. So my colleague here is going to really support it. You know, Guam masamku winigis. So I'm not gonna ask them to vote for you for your confirmation. I'm gonna tell them to vote for you. Okay? Si Jesus Marcia and Todos, thank you very much for your presence here today. We're going to maybe take another 5 minutes break for the confirmation of Mr. Ike Pedo. 5 minutes. Good morning. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Before we commence with our confirmation hearing, I just want to mention a couple of administrative things that we need to do. Those that are testifying, please sign the signing sheet. I got one here, but sometimes there's people that are coming in late, and so go ahead and make that available for those people that wants to testify, and have them sign, and just give me another sheet of signing sheet. So at this point in time, ladies and gentlemen, I want to say thank you, and Uncle Masi, for your presence here this morning. This confirmation hearing by the Committee on Public Safety, Border Safety, Military and Veterans Affairs, Mayor's Council of Guam, Infrastructure, Mass Transit is hereby called to order. For the record, and in accordance with Section 8107, Chapter 8.5 GCA, the first confirmation hearing notice was sent out on Monday, March 11, 2019, adhering to the 5 working days requirement. It was sent out March 18, 2019. In addition to this confirmation hearing, was noticed to the Guam Legislature's website. The time now is 13 to 11. And the date is March 20th. Thank you very much. Joining us here today, I just want to recognize some of my colleagues up here. To my immediate left, Jim Whelan, Senator Biscoli, Sabina Perez, and Senator Mary Torres. And to my immediate right, my favorite, Will Castro, Senator Will Castro. Thank you very much. For those that are going to testify, just coming up, is also the principal for the confirmation. Ike, you just can come up. Do you want to talk before they talk? Okay, I got the. First off, if you can allow me, let me, because there's some people that are testifying this morning, and they asked to go first because they have some pressing schedule. So at this point in time, I want to call up Mr. John Kinata to testify. Gaya na mamarkanan mo.
Yeah, I'm not asked to go first, but if you have somebody that needs to get an appointment, go to a funeral or what, I would yield to them. Is there anyone that want to go before me?
Well, if you're going to yield to them, we got, Robert Lizama. Thank you, sir, for your testimony. Go ahead and do your testimony, and I hope that you can recap the things that we did in the past for the good of our community about our principal year. Thank you, Bob.
Si Masi, Senor Senador Chairman, as Jose Pedo Terlaje, total zone. The interior members ni Mangagi community, si Masi ni Mangagi am Jolokin ni Augusta Tempon Mizo, na organ ni para tayo. Kung kesti Kilizano ni maapunta niya ni Gobernador magahaga as Luliang Guerrero ni segundo magalahi as Josh Tenorio. In honor si Robert Sanchez Lulizama, Mayor Zigo, yung tempos 16 años Josebi y Comunidad Zigo, Zagagyo Greening on a personal note, Befinut tomorrow sa celebra mes tomorrow, dia tomorrow, dan second tomorrow, hindi na posible isakan tomorrow ni LG resolution ni in adopta ni mapus na simana si Diyos mo asi. And from the English, pues, it comes with the territory. Gayo gininogan para be indut siya na nomination as Ike Peredo. Taza na matoto dan si Ike, login pumulismano, at sige no tungo si Ike, kung tempo tati, and I said be a custom and quarantine agency gina tempo. Lo, mas no tungo, finena no tungo si Ike, and I umaandiw zot niya. Sa bumisino si Ike, dyan niya sa Guam ni 32 años dito sa Sagui, familia ng Sudo, yagan niya as Francis Kiditsay Sudo, pa sa Jutri Kiditsay sa Katgay Lisama. Sige no tungo, finena na si Ike. Lo mas mo na tungo, itselo niya, fire chief as Peredo, ni manhami magat ni manmatsam sa muna Mr. Manazuda si Dave Peredo gi Red Cross under the Guam Community College. Lo purason na gagyo sa o experience magas na tao tati 2,200 anay humami kumatga i komiteya ni para pamailihi i talo na ginin sumunador un terma na malago sa Mangana. Guagui i chairman si Ike Peredo i co-chair. Pasensige mo na Fangana si John Kinata. Sa Golf Bonitos din na organ sa Magagam na Tres Pago 2013 or 2019 na Magagam menanmido na Stige Pago na ha-accepta i nominasyon para po SEDBI i custom and quarantine. Uno magay talo na golf este na kaso kilizano as Ike Peredo o golf respeta magay sa uno mauli na tao magay sa tana gagi familiar niya o golf tung si Marie, si Vanessa, si Vera, si Veronica dan si Michael. Manggagi to digwini tali familia na sagwanya loki as Carmen Babauta, dagay loki si John gini tates John Crisostomo. Lo este as ay na tao magay anay in kitunyo mo na i-campaign John Kinata, sige no gof uli magay sti na tauta na maulik manajuda sa tumtum sa malati. Sige na manggana si John Kinata na sa pudguiza. Wow na hukakad ga na i-chairman lo pudguiza na rason na manggana si John Kinata. No, all set aside, Magay. I want to say thank you, Magay, to Ike for accepting the nomination of our governor. There is a lot of challenges, of course, with the custom and quarantine. As I was a staff for the former Senator Tom Ada, I was able to work closely with the chief in trying to realize the property to reserve or to at least identify for custom and quarantine so that they be able to have their inspection station there at the Port Authority of Guam. In speaking very briefly with the chief, I had asked him, so are we forging forward with that law, that particular item to build this storage space or inspection station before all these containers are, taken off the port. And I'm certain that with the leadership of Ike, he's going to see that through so that we'll be able to really give the resources to the hardworking men and women of the custom and quarantine to the direction and leadership of Ike Peredo. He's been appointed from the day that he was announced, and to this day, I've not heard, any issues concerning Ike's ability and capability in forging forward. And with that, good Senator Chairman, I appeal and I ask for your continued and your support in seeing that Ike Peredo gets nominated as the next director of Department of Custom and Quarantine Agency. I'll leave you with that. I apologize, I'd like to stay, but we do have a staff, of course, from the Mayor's Office of Barragata that is being viewed right now, and that's why I asked if I can be able to go ahead and come in and just give my full support to Ike Peredo's nomination. So, Sijus Masian, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Lebab. You know you're my favorite also, right? Thank you, Chelo. I just want to say, Ed Flores. Who's Ed Flores? We're going to put you last, Parole, right? You requested to be last, so okay. We're going to start from this side, to the left, to your right. My left to your right.
Okay.
Buenas, Hafaday, Zantirwami, Senator Terlaje, Chairman of his Senate Committee, and also to the members of this committee, and also to a good friend of mine, Senator Will Castro, ni utungan na Saipanis, and no se asagwanya lokito to Saipan, so I'm happy to see him up there too. My name is Jose Simofnes. I'm the director of the CNMI Customs Service, and I'm also the current chair of the Oceania Customs Organization. I'm here to express my support for Mr. Hike Pedo for the director of the Department of Guam Customs. I've known Hike for many years. Hike's personality and character are really the ideal for the director of customs position. Hike is no stranger to customs work. He retired from customs after serving many years prior to his retirement. I have experience working with Hike many years ago. This is the time when we can jump over the fence. Now we have to go under the fence. Whenever I am sent, back then we have this program, both CNMI and Guam Customs, where we exchange officers. Guam Customs officers will go to Saipan and do an OJT and training also at the same time. And likewise, we send our officers here to work with the Guam Customs and at the same time go to the OJT. I found Ike to be a person that I could easily work with. I am here as the CNMI Customs Director and again as the chairman of the Oceania Customs Organization to vouch that Ike is worthy of this appointment. And I'm grateful to the Honorable Governor Lulian Guerrero and Lieutenant Governor Josh Tenorio for appointing the right person to the Department of Guam Customs. I am looking forward to working with Ike and his customs officer to better secure our Marianas borders. One Guam, one CNMI, one Marianas, Biba Island Marianas. Sizus Masi, thank you.
Sizus Masi, sir.
Hafaday, Honorable Senator Jose Pedo Terlaje, Chairperson, Committee on Public Safety, Border Safety, Military and Veterans Affairs, Mayor's Council, Infrastructure and Public Transit, and Honorable Senators. Thank you for allowing me the time to discuss the nomination of Mr. Ignacio Ike Pedo as Director for the Guam Customs and Quarantine Agency. My name is Vincent S. Perez. I am the Chief of Customs. I'll give you a little bit of background of the agency for those who may not know much about our agency. So Guam Customs and Quarantine Agency is Guam's first line of defense at our borders. We're entrusted by our nation and the people of Guam to protect our island from communicable disease, dangerous food, harmful plant pests and diseases, illegal consumer goods, and illegal drugs. We are Guam's first line of defense. Guam Customs has been increasingly relied on to perform many post-9/11 mandates, but with lack of technology and dwindling resources, it becomes much more challenging to ensure that our island and its people are well protected. We need a director who will be able to bridge the gaps to bring us where we need to be. The Guam Customs and Quarantine Agency needs a leader who understands the challenges, the roles, and complexities of administering the customs enforcement program. Someone who knows how to navigate through the myriad of bureaucracies and can network effectively. We need a leader who knows our processes and understands how to navigate through the administrative, political, and bureaucratic systems, and who can communicate effectively with all stakeholders, private business, local government stakeholders, federal stakeholders, and the public. We need someone who can see the forest for the trees. This agency needs a director who understands the mission and can work in collaboration with the classified leadership, who can effectively integrate the needs of the agency into the strategic plan for the administration. I hereby provide my testimony in full support in Mr. Ike Pedo's nomination as Director for the Guam Customs and Quarantine Agency. I have full faith and confidence in Mr. Pedo's capabilities in building the agency's capacity and protecting our borders. Ike is no stranger to customs, as you've heard. He retired from customs as acting chief of customs, and during his tenure and leadership, the agency separated from the Guam Department of Commerce and reorganized to become a standalone law enforcement entity, acquiring over 100 additional officers, which expanded and built on existing capabilities and capacities for border enforcement. Since appointed to this position, Ike has hit the ground running, analyzing our strengths and weaknesses and looking at ways to tackle the challenges faced by Guam Customs and Quarantine. He wants to continue to enhance and leverage our resources to protect our island community, ensuring everyone's safety. In closing, I am fully confident in Mr. Ike Pedo and his capabilities, that he is the man who is capable of providing the strategic direction that the agency needs to build its capacity and delivering the service demanded to protect the people, our island, and our resources. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chief. At this time, I want to call on John Kinata, and then we'll go down the line. And you know, the reason why I call you John, because you know you're one of those that has to be excused because.
Yes, sir, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, Senator. And I'm going to provide a brief testimony, but I will be available for any questions and answers if you guys want to ask of me. But I will provide this testimony. And when I refer to we, I am referring to not only me and Ike, but all the Customs and Quarantine Agency employees, because it's all of them that make this agency what it is today. Okay. Good morning to all honorable senators. Senator Pedo Terlaje, the chairman of this committee. Senator Will Castro, which I don't know if you know, but Senator Will Castro's father is a retired lieutenant from the Customs and Quarantine Agency, and he grew up in as far as all these folks, and Ike does know him well. Senator Amanda Shelton, thank you. Senator James Moylan, Senator Regine Bisco-Lee, Senator Sabina Perez, and of course, Senator Mary Torres. Nyora, ma'am. Good morning to all honorable senators. For the record, I am John M. Kinata, former Customs and Quarantine Director from 1995 to 2002, and of course, former senator of the 27th Guam Legislature, where I was the chairman on the Committee of Public Safety and Tourism. I'm here to testify today in support of Mr. Ignacio Ike Pedo to be the next confirmed director of the Customs and Quarantine Agency. I've had the privilege and honor of working with Ike, not only at Customs, but he was my chief of staff when I was a senator. His core values are impeccable, and his integrity is second to none. His tenacity to achieve optimal results, even if it crossed organizational boundaries, are one of the many assets that this nominee brings to the agency. I remember taking charge of the newest Gov Guam agency on the first government workday in January 1995. Thinking positively and only having 43 customs officers, we rolled up our sleeves and began the task of how do we bring the agency to meet the growing demand for border enforcement and to combat importation of contraband that is flowing through our island. Ike was my mentor. He provided me with the tools, the knowledge, and the vision to take customs to the next level, and we did. He was instrumental in providing strategies on where we would concentrate our efforts. We developed a task force with all stakeholders to try and get customs away from relying on the general fund and its operations. By the end of my tenure, we were successful in growing the agency from 43 customs officers to almost 250. We were successful in making big drug arrests such as Roy Cabacan and the Pablo Escobar cartel. Drugs rose to almost $1,000 a gram for ice, which showed that it was difficult to import at that time. The going rate right now has dramatically dropped, which is proof that there is a big supply on this island. That must change. Ike has the knowledge, the experience, and the drive to succeed. Your support in confirming him will assist him in taking customs to the next level. Thank you, and I will be available for any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Kinata. Go ahead, Mr. St. Nicholas.
Good afternoon. Jauh di spiritunya si bab lesama ni patavan pino Chamorro sa Chamorro week or Chamorro month. So jauh na by quintos by linggo loke. Pues si Jus Masi ni insidit na by quintos na ora. Kayo gini para by sa poti si Ike Pedo ni mapuntannya ni gobernota. Na mago po na napunta ni gobernota sa Lu. Si Ike joka eksperyansya ni Mariam gini gi esta gua 10 años or more. Gilini ugia sa Ike na tauta na gosmalik na tauta pes fira kidi maulik na tauta watan ni donya no loki background. Similar man si Ike in a way na maestro loki si Ike ti i customer na area or public safety. O maestro loki si Ike bisa mamgana wow loki ritiraujo gi maestro ni gi gobyerno. Pes si Ike ginin PTA president also gi eskwela gi MU Lohan. Pes adjo siya na kapasidad ni extracurricular activities and civil totally don't involvement na gi civil community. Maulik itu total na background pera ki experience-nya gitu jobnya ginin acting director ginin deputy dan jonnya kalau gua jonnya no degree gi criminal justice so total restis ya magufo na napunta ni gobernador sa si Ike maulik na tauto dan gos kapasidad ni paresti na pwesto pautuli magufo ni ngokko gya sa Mr. Kinata gi mandakko na giza ginin director za ginin donnya leadership or mentorship si Ike Pedo inajuda gi pamas effective ni director gi custom and quarantine so magufo ni ngokko ni ano siya especially ni ginin director dan also ginin senador so maulik ino siya na palabra si ningongok ko da bonito da gao pa ko na kaigyo gini pabay na tungam jo na o sa popoti este na napuntan gobyerno sa Ike Pedo dan kaigyo gini pabay faisen amjo por favor confirm izonya appointment da antes de by dingam da Jus Masi da guaho na iloke Senator Terlaje hago joko favorite senator kena hulu amount toruro izomo favorite senator pareho na dos toruro joko favorite eno izomo colleague okay so magufo na toruro izomo favorite is pareho na dos toruro loke amdo joko favorite especially hago so si Jus Masi zabay hano loki sa no bula loki tinaya nananga jo manadan simi jam papaja pabay tanum nananga gao karabaw siya jang waka pabay check ko man mamri bay repair ikilat sa gaman uhujung gaman daddan yo siya che dakku ni gawa waka talo jang karabaw keso bay na tungawa na no senator loki na malik sa ang kakamadir siya man tungotan ay sa man nalulula loke. Lau wauti nalulula jo sa stop planian angin nisita 3 oras bay kayi gini pa bay sapoti ami guho bay sapoti dan si former Miss Brenner magufo na o sapoti loke bonito si todo siya na sinapoti dan napuntatan niya gobernota. Nesti malpago na ani ni si Brenner dan si Pedo magufo nesti sa maunuling inajejek na gobyerno pero najuda todo mo na tau-tau Guam Sa stigi siya na natawtawgis i-direktor dan told yun na lero. Muna posisibli malago i-gobyerno dan muna posisibli malago medyo ni Kongreso kinahulo. Pero si Diyos masi ni malik te chumizo da continua chumogi malik na chocho para tuli tawtaw. Si Diyos masi and thank you.
Si Diyos masi lay beni hakasin na dos no umatungo za utunga na anigagigit giskwela. Guana biano na bububuhur sa todi tempo. Kada kumampetisinam gi pamalago uliin na nakuha na patas na kigaw za didingo todi tempo. So si Jesus masi ni testimonio beni. And with that, I just want to call on the next person to testify.
Good morning, Senators. I'm Dr. Vanessa Oshiro, owner and operator of Mariana's Vet Care in Barrigada, Guam. This morning, I'm here out of concern for the security of our island's borders in light of the recent recreational marijuana legislation currently being debated. We are entering uncharted territory on this issue, but there is already grave evidence of the impact of drugs, including marijuana, on our community, even while it is currently illegal, even in these very halls. In the last year alone, we have seen an alarming uptick in drug-related arrests involving marijuana, methamphetamine, and other contraband such as MDMA, and yet more alarming, guns used to protect dealers' investments. The assault on the community is hard to miss when the local headlines repeatedly tell tale of millions of dollars worth of drugs being seized and young people being caught up in that mix, both perpetrators and victims. Who can forget the story of 15-year-old Tamika Jaden Nauta, murdered by her neighbor, 24-year-old Brandon Acosta, in a meth-fueled attempted robbery? And the kids involved are getting younger. For example, the toddlers, just 1 and 2 years old, present in a vehicle when marijuana, meth, a shotgun, ammo, knives, and an expandable baton were discovered in it by authorities on a routine traffic stop. Given all of this, I'm wondering if we are capable of effectively securing our borders to prevent the further influx of dangerous drugs and contraband. Can we not partner with federal authorities or request for federal assistance? Last year, did not the DEA meet with Guam's leadership and recommend first steps for our island to be declared a high-intensity drug area? It is my understanding through news reports that funding via that avenue could save Guam taxpayers millions of dollars in the war on drugs, if local government is willing to declare it and follow through with the process. Can we look forward to progress in that endeavor anytime soon? At the rate that the drug culture is consuming our people right where they live, it is imperative. In conclusion, I would support any director of Guam Customs and Quarantine who would take seriously these legitimate concerns for our community, one who has a zero-tolerance position on all types of controlled substances given the nature of the office, and one who would be willing to declare a war on drugs on every level in a real and effective manner that allows our people to feel safe again. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Bill, go ahead.
Good morning, Senator Terlaje and other senators in the committee. I am here as a private citizen. I am part of the Manamku group nowadays. I'm a retired federal civil service employee, and I'm here to testify in the support of Mr. Ike Pedo as the customs director. I've known this man for approximately 25 years. His honor, his integrity, his honesty is beyond reproach. He's very good within the community. He supports all the community programs from Zona, and I am not from Zona, I'm from Barrigada, but I know the man personally. He is the right man. He has the right temperament. He's been with the system back with Senator Kinata. I have seen them work together. I was at the port for 8 years, and they have done a tremendous job back then. What's happening now has to go back and be corrected and proceed with their programs and the policies that they have established, and they must be followed through. He's the right man to do the job. Please confirm him for that position. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bill. Mr. Payne. Before I call up Ed Flores, please allow me, Ed. Maybe go ahead, Ed, and testify, and then I'll kind of recognize all my colleagues up here.
Thank you, Senator. Half a day. My name is Edward T. Flores, retired Assistant Chief of Customs and Quarantine Agency, Government of Guam. What prompted me to appear before you in support of Ignacio Ike Peredo's appointment happened to me one night while I was watching KUAM TV News. Governor Lulio Guerrero and Lieutenant Governor Josh Tenorio appointed Ike Peredo to be the Director of Customs and Quarantine Agency. I became extremely excited. I immediately called Ike at his residence to congratulate him. In the midst of our conversation, I told Ike that I would personally support his appointment. About 43 years ago, the University of Guam invited Customs and Quarantine Agency to join other law enforcement agencies in celebrating Law Enforcement Week on campus. As a Customs and Quarantine supervisor at that time, I was tasked to be one of the speakers for the event. There were about 25 University of Guam students who came, took their seats, and listened to all the speakers representing the various Government of Guam law enforcement agencies. I spoke about the who, the what, the when, the where, and the why, and how customs and quarantine enforcement is being carried out. In a very short period of time after the event, Customs and Quarantine Agency announced job openings for Customs and Quarantine Officer 1 positions. Ike applied for the job and was hired. I later learned from Ike that he was confident and determined to act on the information I provided, such as Customs' overall operations and goals. I felt that blessings on Customs and Quarantine happened. Unknowingly, I provided the needed information to be heard, and Ike wholeheartedly received and acted upon it. With Ike's long-time Customs and Quarantine enforcement experience and the information provided to you earlier by the speakers on my right, supporting Ike, I honestly and openly say Ike will faithfully do what is right and just, show constant love, and live in humble fellowship with our Almighty God. In closing, I ask our Holy Spirit to come and fill the hearts of everyone up there and the hearts of Ike and his family, and kindle in all of you the Holy Spirit's fire of love. In Jesus' name. Thank you and God bless.
Jesus Masiet. Before I get Ike to speak to us, I just want to recognize my colleagues up here. To my immediate left is Jim Moylan. Huh? And my good Senator Bisculi. And my favorite senator, Senator Perez, and my other favorite senator, Mary Torres. Torres is also favorite, ambi. And to my immediate right is Will Castro, is also my favorite. And my favorite niece, Amanda Shelton. So again, I want to thank each and every one of you. Before we even start with Ike, I just want to mention something about, there's some, you have 10 days to submit your written testimony. And you can send it to my email at Senator Pedo at senatorjpterlaje.com. Or you can send it to my address, my office, at Bridgepoint Building Suite 202-140 Aspinall Avenue, Hagåtña. Thank you. Mr. Pedo, go ahead.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, and members of the Committee on Public Safety, Border Safety, Military and Veterans Affairs, Mayor's Council, Infrastructure, and Public Transit. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to appear before this body for your review and confirmation as Director of Customs. I would like to publicly thank Honorable Governor Lourdes Leon Guerrero and Lieutenant Governor Josh Tenorio for the confidence that they have placed in me to provide the leadership and direction for this important agency. I am a military veteran and a retired senior customs officer. I started my career with Customs in 1976 with the Department of Commerce Customs and Quarantine Division. During my tenure with the Department of Commerce, I managed to rise to the ranks and become a supervisor, which allowed me the opportunity to be exposed on all facets of the Customs and Quarantine functions and operation. During this particular time, there were only 30 customs officers who were manning our borders, which comprised of the airport, maritime, cargo, Agana Boat Basin, Anderson Air Force Base, Naval Air Station, Naval Station, which is Big Navy, and to include the main postal facility. The airport was the only section that operated 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, with only one duty officer assigned for the swing and midnight shift. The shift duty officer was responsible for staffing all flights arriving after 1,700 hours. The most challenging times of my career was during the mid-70s when heroin was rampant throughout our island. Violent drug crimes was at its highest point, prompting Drug Enforcement Administration to increase their manpower level to Guam to combat the importation of illicit drugs into our territory. I valued the leadership and mentoring that were provided to me by my superiors during this particular time. They have taught me the core values of what Division of Customs is all about, and that is honesty, integrity, and accountability. As in the past, the threat of contraband smuggling into Guam remains a major concern for the agency. As long as contraband continues to be transported across our borders, the profits generated to the sale of illicit contraband will continue. In 1986, I was promoted to Assistant Chief of Customs and was overall in charge of the operation. Under the leadership of Chief Lloyd J. Osborne, I was tasked to write grants to acquire needed resources for the division. This resulted in upgrades to our radio communications, SmartNet radio system, instituting a customs automated system for tracking drug suspects at our ports of entry, and installation of surveillance system at the airport and cargo to monitor the movement of passengers and cargoes upon arrival on Guam. As a member of the Customs Heads of Administration, also known as the Oceania Customs Organization, I collaborated and worked with the Australian Customs Service to provide drug detector dog training, in which the Australian Customs Service graduated and certified 6 Customs K-9 officers. In 1994, the Customs and Quarantine Agency was created via passage of Public Law 22-112. The creation of the new agency severed the ties from the Department of Commerce as a division and created a new line agency. Being the senior classified employee of the agency, I became the deputy director of the agency and spearheaded the customs reorganization into 4 different divisions under the leadership of then Director John M. Kinata. In October of 1995, Governor Carl T.C. Gutierrez proposed the idea of the Customs, Agriculture, and Quarantine Inspection Service charges, which became Public Law 23-45. The Customs, Agriculture, Quarantine Inspection Service Charge program authorizes charges for passenger and cargo inspection service rendered by the agency at our borders, which created a funding source dedicated strictly towards contraband interdiction programs. For the first time in Customs and Quarantine history, the agency was able to send 55 recruits to the Guam Community College Certified Law Enforcement Training Academy and continued with 2 other cycles the following year. Today, the mission of the agency has expanded greatly since the late 90s when CQA had a healthy 235 officers. Following the events of September 11, 2001, there has been an increase in federal legislation signed into law aimed at the prevention of terrorism. Subsequently, the mandates and regulations requiring CQA enforcement has significantly increased. However, CQA's ability to fulfill our tasks has been negatively impacted because of reduced personnel, training, equipment, vehicles, and lack of technology. Compared to the late 90s, Guam Customs had sufficient personnel to conduct inspection at our borders. Both primary and secondary inspection counters were manned by customs officers to ensure that all Guam's arriving passengers were properly screened and protected. The agency was able to provide additional boarding teams to meet all arriving aircrafts, conduct inspection and monitoring of these aircrafts, and to review manifests as well as monitor inventory, account, and track all cargoes destined for Guam. Presently, the agency is staffed with just 101 officers to protect our borders. That is less than half of the officers that we had in the 90s, compounding the staff shortage. We had 34 well-trained customs officers transferred to federal service because of better opportunities. This is a great challenge for the agency, but let me say that with my experience, education, and commitment to the Customs and Quarantine Agency, I am confident that I can provide the managerial stability and leadership to move this agency in the right direction. As the community's first line of defense, acquiring the necessary personnel and equipment are vital towards interdicting movements of contraband and other harmful items in our territory. Mr. Chairman and members of this committee, as the Director of Customs, I would like to accomplish the following goals. Number 1, to fully equip and upgrade all employees with the necessary tools to perform their duties in the most efficient and effective way. 2, to coordinate with DOA an equitable, justifiable promotion process for customs officers 1 and 2 to allow for the upward mobility of these officers. 3, to develop and implement new strategies for improving narcotics interdictions at all ports of entries. 4, to provide every opportunity for all personnel in new ideas and technologies in the field of customs. 5, to complete the construction of the new satellite container inspection facility at the Port Authority of Guam so that we can close the gap in the security and accountability of all containers leaving the port. 6, to implement a customs management information system which will meet the demands for service and help mitigate inspection processes, to include a computer-based platform in which statistics and other data can be collected, classified, and compiled to benefit CQA as well as all other stakeholders. 7, to properly staff every division so that officers can revert back to working 8-hour shifts. 8, to create a Customs Biosecurity Division to strengthen the enforcement of Guam invasive species at our ports of entry. And lastly, to increase the civilian support staff with necessary personnel in order to fill the gaps in providing quality service to the public and the stakeholders, and to relieve uniformed officers from behind the desk activities and place them back out online. In closing, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, I would like to say that I am deeply inspired by the outpouring support of all customs officers and civilian support staff of this agency. When I retired from the agency 20 years ago, I had twice as many people and half as many responsibilities. Despite the many challenges we are facing, the officers and the staff continue to dedicate themselves to the mission by sacrificing their time with their family to ensure our island, our people, and resources remain protected. For this, I would like to thank each and every one of you for your service. Thank you. As I have in the past, I ask you, members of this committee, for the opportunity once again to lead the Customs and Quarantine Agency and make Guam's first line of defense able to perform its duties and responsibilities to fulfill its mission in service to the people of Guam. Thank you for this opportunity. I am ready to answer any question you may have relating to my position as the Director of Customs.
Thank you very much, Ike. I'm sorry, but we do have other people that are here to testify, and I'm trying to think, maybe before we start asking questions to the principal, is there anybody, I know Jim is here, is there anybody else that are here to testify? Because I was counting the names and we got about 12 that are signed up to testify, so the only one that I can see here. So maybe you can just take your place in the front. And then I would just go down the line on the line of questionings and comments that are going to be asked of you by my colleague here. So go ahead, Jim. We'll start from your side, and then we'll go down to your left.
Buenas, zan hafade torudu samzu zao na pabe respeta lo que este mes chamoro man, you know, za manana si Jews pa torudu samzu genolo ne. Eu agradeci si Ike Peredo sa, you know, last week a organo zaling na Jim kusina un supported gestina confirmation hearing pa, you know, Director Customs. Like Ike tunisitan faisino hasta pabehona gato za pabe supportel sa algo I mistructure. Ana malumo gi Customs. Algo for managyo todo ni lie ni taimano pomatsogwis tigi za Customs. You know, taimanos ti pohalum, taimanos ti na pomana paras ti na beneno ni manhalum gini gi islata gini ni borders. Okay, let me revert back now to my, you know, but just out of respect for, you know, I just wanted to go on my, you know, on our native tongue. Okay. Honorable Senator Pedo Terlaje, Chairman of the, you know, Public Safety. I am here. My name is James T. McDonough. I am a retired and a former director of the Guam Customs and Quarantine. I would like to recommend that Ignacio Peredo be confirmed as the Director of Customs and Quarantine Agency. To the best of my knowledge, Ike Peredo is a highly qualified individual with great knowledge of customs laws and procedures. He was my mentor when I transferred from the Guam Police Department in the early 1980s. And I'll never forget, because when I came into the customs agencies, there was like 6 of us that did lateral transfer from the Guam Police Department. And we didn't get a good welcome. You know, when we were coming in, they were saying, "Hadzia destina policeman ne pafanholum genigid a custom." They thought that we were there just for the overtime, because at that time overtime was rampant. You know, we only had 40-some officers at that time. It was Ike Peredo, who was my instructor at the time, and you know, handled the training area at that time, that came to me and said, "Jimmy, munga maekongok justisya na tautagwis. Just do your job, you know, and make a difference here in the border." And I never forgot that. I always kept that, you know, within, you know, myself. And it was because of you, the former chief, Lloyd Osborne, former chief Frank Torres, former chief Rick Blas, Ed Flores, you know, and many more other, you know, supervisors that, you know, gave me all this knowledge that I had, you know, when I joined, you know, customs. So, you know, I wanted to thank all these guys, because, you know, that's how I learned to make decisions on complex situations. Because customs, I'm telling you, it's very different than police. It's a different animal. Guam is a soft target. We're no different than New Zealand. New Zealand thought that nothing can ever happen in their place, because everybody is laid back. Guess what, guys? We're in a new world now. I'm glad I had, you know, Homeland Security experience, and I'm glad I have this opportunity to be here, so maybe I can shed some light so that everyone can realize that where there's drugs, guess what, guys? There's weapons. And you've seen it in the news in the past few weeks. A few of our youngsters getting just routine pullovers out in the streets. What do they find? A little marijuana, some meth, and guess what? Some weapons. Do you really think those weapons are just there not to be used? That's to protect their investments, my friends. And if we can't realize that now, especially with the shortage of manpower, I don't care if you hire 100 police officers. All those police officers are going to do is react after the fact. Customs and quarantine officers are the first line of defense against any types of threats, especially terrorism, active shooters. I've seen it all, man. You know, I was there for almost 2 years, and I've listened to all the briefings and everything, and sometimes I can't sleep well at night, because sometimes our leaders don't listen. They'll say, "Oh, customs? Oh, they're nothing. They're part of GVB. They used to be under Department of Commerce." Guess what, guys? I was one of those warriors. I remember back then, and Ike Peredo will attest to that, and Chief Flores. They'll say, Osborne will come up and say, "Hey, check fang si McDonald, check fang si Louis Duenas. I think they're going down there again to the legislature looking for Senator Ben Pangilinan, Carl Gutierrez, and Senator San Agustin." We were doing that all that time, but you know what? We never hide that. I was always open. That's why we were considered rebels. They would send internal officers to go and look for me. Hey, check his McDonald down there, the legislature. Because he's visiting again the Senator Ben Pangilinan. But guess what, guys? That's how we got out of commerce. That's why we only had, how many? 46 officers before when we were under commerce. It came to the point where they made us use safari shirts. They should have just put on lace on us, hula lace, and make us dance when the tourists were coming in. They forgot about enforcement. So now that, customs is still very young, we need to support them. And what recommendations I have before, you guys now is, let's stop that lease up there at the airport. Let's get that funding, almost $5 million. Hire more custom officers so that we can mitigate these threats against our own people. Right now, I'm the board chairman for Guam Crime Stoppers. And I've been going down there in 2 months, talking to these business establishments. And it's scary, guys. What I have to hear from these guys, because they're saying that tourists are there's a lot of purse snatching going down there. A lot of cars are being broken into. And guess what? A lot of this is not being reported. Because the tourists are tired of waiting for a police officer to come. And guess what? They rather go out and go shopping. And they're going to leave the following day. You really think these tourists are going to come back? So we need to all, put our minds together and let's support Ike Peredo because this guy has the qualifications. When JQ Kinata was our director, like what he said, Ike Peredo was, his chief of staff. Manpower was beefed up and everything. He can do it again. But he needs the help of you guys. And rather than taking it out of the taxpayers' pocket, let's bring HIDA to Guam. The high-intensity drug area, let's utilize that federal resource. It's there. 48 states are HIDA certified. Customs used to have 18 working dogs. Almost 300 officers. Today they only have how many? Two dogs? So that's what I'm here for, is to give them guidance. And I thank, Director Ike Peredo, for always inviting me to his office. Even my wife is saying, hey, are you still working at Custom? I go, hey, I got an invitation to sit down with the new director and the chief. I say, you should be proud that your husband is still important. But, be more proud because I'm here at home and this is real homeland security. So, this is what, I just wanted to come here for, and I wanted to throw my full support, for, and let's confirm Ike Peredo to be the next Director of Customs. So, thank you.
Jim. Go ahead, sir.
Good morning, Senators. I've been asked to read testimonies from 2 other individuals, and then I'll be providing mine after. So the first testimony is from Mr. Gabriel Cruz. He's unable to be here today because of a personal appointment that he has to attend to. Afterday, Senator Terlaje, I'm writing you this letter to render my support for the confirmation of Mr. Ignacio Q. Peredo as the Director of Guam Customs and Quarantine Agency. During my tenure in Customs and in going up through the ranks to my present Customs supervisory position, Mr. Peredo was instrumental in my success through his advisement, dissemination of knowledge, and expertise on the field, which has led me to where I am today. In addition, these same qualities have often been observed in other customs officers as well, to which he has affected through his leadership and tutelage. These are the same types of characteristics and qualities that we, officers of customs, are in need of. Mr. Pedo has proven himself throughout his professional demeanor and leadership abilities throughout his years with Guam Customs. Further, Mr. Pedo's aptitude for sharing his invaluable experiences, commitment, and dedication to protect our island and its people still exist in him. His trustworthiness, fidelity, and dependability of being a leader of Guam, as he was appointed to in furtherance of protecting and defending the very fiber and essence of our lifestyle, will truly benefit our agency. It is only right that Mr. Pedo, a proven son of Guam, be confirmed as our Director of the Customs and Quarantine Agency to continue his legacy of servitude and dedication to our people. It is our hope that the officers and administrative staff of this agency reap the benefits of such a leader, so that we are fortunate enough to emulate these same talents to pass on to others. Sincerely, Captain Gabriel V. Cruz, Customs Supervisor of the Drug Detector Dog Unit. The next one is from another individual who was unable to attend because of a personal matter. Hafaday Senator Terlaje, thank you for the opportunity to submit my testimony. My name is Ralph Scambaluri, and I'm a retired chief of the Customs and Quarantine Agency. It is with full confidence that I would like to express my sincere support in the nomination of Mr. Ignacio Ike Pedo as the next director of Guam Customs and Quarantine Agency. I have known Ike since the beginning of my career at CQA in 1979. He was a mentor to me in the agency and a proven professional leader. Considering the problems of illicit drugs facing our island and the recent challenges to manpower at the agency, there is a need for someone who will make it a priority to improve processes and give officers the proper tools they need to effectively protect Guam's borders. This is exactly representative of the experiences Mr. Pedo is equipped with. Governor Lou Leon Guerrero made a wise choice in her selection of Mr. Pedo to lead the agency, and I further asked members of the 35th Guam Legislature to also provide the agency the necessary resources so that it can accomplish its core objectives, whether it be adequate manpower or increased resources for the agency to fulfill its mission. In closing, I would like to thank you for the opportunity to submit testimony on the nomination of Mr. Pedo, and encourage all senators to stand behind the governor's selection and confirm Mr. Ignacio Pedo as the next director of Guam Customs and Quarantine Agency. Thank you. Regards, Ralph Scambaluri, retired Chief, Guam Customs and Quarantine Agency. Now this will be my testimony. Hafaday and good morning, Mr. Chairman and committee members on Public Safety, Border Security, Military and Veterans Affairs, Mayor's Council, Infrastructure, and Public Transit. My name is John Rick Mendiola, a resident of Guam and an officer of the Customs and Quarantine Agency for more than 20 years. I present myself before this distinguished body to convey my full support for the confirmation of Mr. Ignacio Q. Pedo as Director of the Customs and Quarantine Agency. I first met Mr. Pedo in the mid-90s, entering the agency as a member of the first formal Customs Training Academy, which coincidentally remains the largest recruitment and hiring of officers for the newly created Customs Agency. As such, the successful graduation of my fellow cyclemates and I was a force multiplier which saw a 100% increase of custom personnel manning our borders. This unprecedented increase in personnel required extensive planning, determination, and leadership, as this included for the first time the requirement of customs trainees to undergo the criminal justice certification program provided by the Guam Community College, as well as the in-depth customs technical officer course. This new endeavor would not have been possible without the leadership of Mr. Pedo, then the acting chief of customs, Under Mr. Paredo's tenure as chief, the strengthening of customs borders did not end there, as the subsequent hiring of 50 more officers was undertaken just 2 years later. Through his leadership, management, and general concern of the island, the investment of additional officers resulted in record methamphetamine seizures and the subsequent prosecution of narcotic traffickers at that time. Since his return as acting director, Mr. Peredo has met with all agency personnel to implore their concerns, struggles, and ideas. Armed with this information and his experience from both the customs perspective and his time in private service, he has already conveyed goals and plans that will revolutionize the customs process, improving upon many of our mandated enforcement and regulatory responsibilities, ultimately leading the agency to efficient and effective customs agency, which is demanded by the people. In order to see to fruition these goals and plans, the agency is in dire need of leadership stability at the top. As a proven leader, an individual with innovation, expertise in border management, a professional, and a respected individual, all these qualities best describe Mr. Peredo. Therefore, I humbly request the committee to vote in favor for the confirmation of Mr. Peredo as Director of the Customs and Quarantine Agency. Si Diyos masi.
Thank you, sir, for your testimony. Go ahead.
Buenas and Hafade, Chairman Terlaje, and members of this committee. My name is Captain Barbara Camacho Tayama. I have been employed with Guam Customs and Quarantine for close to 22 years. I am currently the Operations Officer assigned to Logistics and Support Division, and I am here to testify in favor of Mr. Ignacio Ike Peredo's appointment as Director of Guam Customs and Quarantine Agency. Major Peredo retired as the acting chief in 1999 when I was a junior officer with only 2 years on the force. Major Peredo left a profound legacy which is fondly recalled long since his retirement of nearly 20 years. Major Peredo's name is often mentioned when I am talking with colleagues about the good old days. I always hear positive comments about his professional reputation and style of leadership, although I was not afforded the opportunity to work directly under his supervision early in my law enforcement career. These characteristics are very respectable, therefore speaks volumes about him. Some may perceive Major Peredo to be quiet. However, the quiet leader outshines the loud ones by serving his subordinates with respect and value for their opinions. Major Peredo is professional, hardworking, and very approachable. Officers who served alongside with him in the past respect him as a leader. He is committed to the Guam Customs and Quarantine Agency. I admire his willingness to return to our agency to bring us to a brighter future. He is innovative in identifying funding to resolve the lack of manpower and resources by a recent resubmission of a computer management information system grant proposal. This will allow Guam Customs to efficiently and effectively protect Guam's borders by implementing an automation process that is simplified and upgraded to match the rest of the world. He continues to be diligent with providing support and guidance for staffing. Guam Customs will officially hire 29 trainees for the upcoming 11th cycle for our current understaffed workforce. This has been a work in progress since March 2016. He also meets regularly on project deadlines on plans for a central customs inspection and holding facility to utilize property that was recently given to our agency. He expects accountability as modeled by his work ethics. He has set clear goals with prioritizing projects that will move our agency forward with our mission. As a part of Guam Customs leadership today, I will continue to keep him informed so that he is guided accordingly to complement his institutional knowledge. I am honored to know him and work for him under his command today. Therefore, I humbly ask for your favorable approval and appointment today. Thank you for this opportunity and your time.
We're going to continue with the comments and questions from my colleague. And let me start with Senator Sabrina Perez. Go ahead, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I want to thank everybody who's come out here today to testify. I just have a couple questions regarding your plans as far as what challenges have you identified and how you plan to overcome those challenges?
Okay, some of the challenges that I've identified within the last 3 months is, number one is recruitment. Recruitment process right now is so tedious that it takes too long for this government to recruit officers because of the different types of mandates that are imposed within the agency. And that's one of my concerns, that it's taking too long for us to recruit officers so that we can place them in the appropriate training academy so that we can utilize them within a certain time period. So that's the first challenge. The second challenge that I have right now is the shortage of manpower that I'm confronted with respect to operations at the airport. And that challenge is that the source of funding that I need to identify in order for me to accommodate the needs of the airport. And if you understand, we have a funding source that comes not only from the general fund, we have a funding source that comes from the passenger service charge. And in order for me to identify the appropriate charge for this particular operation, I need to establish a well-defined budget. And from that budget, that's when I can decide the amount of charge that I need to allocate so that I can hire the officers that I need to man the ports of entries at the airport. The third challenge that I have is to instill an MIS system for the agency. Very important. This is the year 2019, and Customs is still doing manual operations at our borders. We need to step up and get with our government so that we can create a platform so we can start using technology to not only identify risk assessment with our operations, but also so that we can also collaborate with our stakeholders in trying to meet the needs of the agency as it relates to import requirements.
Thank you. Another question that I have. So there was a mention about identifying Guam as a high-intensity drug trafficking area. Is that correct? What is your position in regards to that? And what is your position, first of all?
Well, when you talk about the high intensity area, in order for Guam to be a part of this particular program, we need to collaborate with our neighboring islands, which is the Northern Marianas, and I think I have the Director of Customs right here, and that's one of the first steps that we need to do, because the high intensity area organization cannot just operate mainly from our island. We need to in order for them to come in and establish that particular program, we need to be in a regional type position, and that is the best way is for us to get with our counterparts in the Marianas and work with them, and that way that we can get a support from the federal insofar as identifying our island to be a part of this program. And that's the first step. And let me just go on with that. The Director of Customs in the Commonwealth of the Northern Marianas have already submitted a recommendation and establishing an MOU with our agency so that we can show that, yes, we are working closely with them as part of that requirement. Thank you.
if we become identified as such, do we get a lot more resources as far as manpower and equipment?
Yes, there's a certain type of funding that is provided if you fall under that particular category. I'm not too sure how much funding, but there is funding that will be made available for the young.
I've also heard some comments from our neighboring islands that there is an increase in human trafficking. Have you noticed that, or what measures are you taking to address that?
From the time that I started working with the agency at this point in time, I haven't heard anything insofar as the increase, but I've heard in the past that yes, there were human trafficking coming from not only from Northern Marianas trying to come into our island, and that's about the only information that I have with human trafficking.
Yeah, I think it's important to pursue that because I feel that, or I've heard reports that they're increasing in our area, and they're not may not necessarily be coming through the traditional ports, and then also the reports that there are drugs that are being imported through Guam that are not coming through the port system. Are there any measures to address that?
Yes. We do have a program that is now being reviewed, and it's ongoing at this point in time. We have a Marine Patrol Enforcement Division that works with the federal government that allows us to use assets to patrol our shores on a certain time, and that's a program that I would like to expand, because they can provide us the resources and we can continue that type of enforcement. Yeah.
Regarding technology, what are the plans to institute greater technology when it comes to like retinal identification, fingerprinting at the airport? Is that something that that is under your purview, and that you are, or what is your position on that?
The MIS system that I am recommending is that we have requested for a TAP grant with the Department of Interior. And the way we're going to work this grant is that it's going to be in phases. We're going to start with the design of the particular grant and get consultation so that we can get the appropriate company to come in and design the system for us. And then from there, we'll go to the next phase, which is designing the mainframe system and to ensure that we have the information and the knowledge and capabilities of identifying all this type of risk assessment that we have to go through under customs. So that's in place right now, but we're working in phases.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Go ahead, Senator Moylan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Pedo, you definitely have all the support here. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I'm looking forward to working closely with you. And one of the main things I can probably start off with, you mentioned it's just so difficult to hire people for customs, right? So we got some antiquated things going on with our statute. I'll be more than happy to help you make some amendments along with our chairman here on the committee so we can get things moving for you. So it's our duty to make this legislation right so you can hire people. I'll be happy to work with you on that.
And that's true, Senator. A lot of the things that needs to be ironed out is a lot of the requirements that are coming out of post right now, and we're working with that. Especially the chairman is also aware of some of the concerns that we have with respect to hiring because of the requirements that are imposed on the agency. But that's on its way, and we're working with him on that.
Okay, I'm happy to continue with that on as well, but a couple of questions, Mr. Chair. Technology and hiring, of course, all takes money, and it's a must, and it has to be done. But maybe one of the concerns that was brought up in the transition report, supported by the governor here, says the most glaring concern for this agency on the customs is the financial status of almost $3.2 million to pay for office rental space. Jim McDonald kind of alluded to some of that information as well. on the report, I can see that there's, well, to the airport itself, Customs pays almost $200,000 a month. And to a rental building next door at PACCARE, around $60,000 a month. So if there's any way you can reduce that, any way possible, I'm sure we can forward this money to the right, a better place, better resources for the technology that you have.
Senator, have been reviewing the rent for this particular agency because, yes, you're right, 17% of my budget goes towards rent. And one of the things that I've came across is that the areas that I'm occupying, especially at back here, is extremely high with respect to the monthly payment. And talking with the general manager at the airport, he has identified that there's space at the airport that I'm already paying that I can move and review the particular location to ensure that it fits the needs of the agency. So that is something that I can look into, and hopefully that by moving out of there, I can save $234,000 and divert that particular funding towards the operations at the airport.
I'm glad you're working on that. I support you 100% on that. And then I also like to acknowledge, I thank CNMI for coming on over. They're your counterpart there. And understand that you have an MOU going together. We've had an opportunity to talk before about the post office there in CNMI, right? Where you have the customs officers there at the post office, where all these contrabands, drugs are coming on in. We need your cooperation as well. We need to do this on Guam too. I understand that we don't have that agreement going, and I wrote to the governor, and she's expressed that she wants to see that happen too. But I believe now with your leadership, we can have a customs permanently at the post office somehow, following the examples that Saipan has done for us, to include also bringing the high-density drug area to Guam. I think this is a great opportunity now with your relationship going that we can make things happen. So if we can get that customs officer, if we need to hire, gotta hire, right, into the post office and stop that drugs from coming in for the mail, which we know it's coming in rampantly now. And with that understanding with Saipan, how did they do that? Let's make it work. But I'm looking forward to seeing you work that out with them. I appreciate that, please.
Yes, Senator, and I have already initiated the process on that and trying to get more information as to whether it's feasible for us here on our island to actually assimilate what CNMI is doing. And of course, we have to also understand that the problem that I foresee in this particular program is that we do have a lot of home deliveries in Guam. It's the post office is not only the area where everybody can go and pick up their mail. We have home deliveries that will create a challenge to us in trying to identify whatever partials that are moving out of the post office, especially coming from the domestic or domestic origin.
Thank you very much. Congratulations.
Thank you, Senator. We go to my favorite, Senator Castro. Not Fidel Castro, Senator Castro from Guam.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Bula no para tasangan por este na hearing lo leknyagui no esta matu no I oren boka talawani. So I'll keep it short. I'll set this aside. Biba mes tomorrow, biba sakkan tomorrow, biba tomorrow, biba Marianas. Director no fananuhago no mas tumo na met good no isopatomo angin matu siya gininotan Marianas. You know you have a solid candidacy for confirmation when your peers, not just from the north, but who represent a larger regional organization, take the time away from family and work and the money to come here and speak in affirmation of your confirmation. So, you know, the record will reflect that the Oceania Customs Association's representative and your peer, Director Mofnas, is here on, to testify on your behalf, and that's a wonderful thing. So, Sidus Masi, Director Mofnas, Mucho más para hago lo que senador Kenata, para no hago no un recognisa, no iset bin tatahu, iza customs and quarantine. Magahit no dumangkulo jogi inon mizu, ginin inet non mizu, inet non tatahu, iza customs and quarantine. It is true, for the most part, that for a greater part of my teen life, all the way into undergrad, I guess you could say I was raised in the department. And it's important, because not my experiences with the department, but my observations of the men and women in Guam's first line of defense. And starting with you, Director, my father reluctantly retired in 1993 when his house was destroyed by fire. For those who don't know that, that is a fact, and it was a traumatic moment in my family's history. In 1993, he retired. And many of you in the room were there for my father to console him emotionally, psychologically, financially, physically. And you did too, and your wonderful family did. And so thank you. And the reason why I say that for the record, Director, is because your professionalism, your dossier, all that you've done throughout your professional career in serving the people, that's not in question. But it's important that they know that they have a leader who's compassionate, who's considerate, and is willing to go the extra mile to take care of his people. And I thank you again for that. Leknano Estino Otruna Senador, she asked a little question about retina scanning. But I think we should start with you. Fanano hago fanina na kaso sa tihu no recognisa ho sa ni gapnya. Fanan hu uusan no entios mo na pago no. You're not using. I don't know how you do it. I've known you for 30 years, Director. I'm losing hair. It's getting white. Yours is full and it's darker, and you don't even use glasses anymore. So that speaks a lot. And your vision for the department, most importantly, is ever clearer. You read into the record a 6 or 7 point plan. I'm not sure if that was your own vision, or is that the strategic plan for the agency? I really would like a copy of that, because like many of my colleagues, I will be an ardent, strong supporter of Guam's first line of defense. You know, there's a lot of baggage that comes with people who come out of retirement, but you know, many have already said that it's your institutional knowledge and your ability to humble yourself and take expert advice from a lot of smart women and men in the room whom I've come to know, either at the bowling alley or in my association as a director, a former director in the cabinet. And so that also speaks to your leadership style, and thank you for that. The other colleague who already left alluded to the changing challenges of this world in terms of innovative ways to bring in narcotics or the proliferation of human trafficking in the region. And I know, I am confident that you will adapt, because you are surrounded by professionals. And a lot of these ideas are not new, Director. And so thank you again for acknowledging what they bring to the table in terms of HIDA, in terms of the information systems, in terms of the use tax, and the program that's going on at Customs in the CNMI. And it's, you know, it's not that you're going to start the use tax program here. It's you're going to build upon the successes of Directors McDonald and Acting Director Palacios, and I have the greatest amount of confidence that you will find a way to close that loop and deliver upon the collection of use taxes, especially as we see low to moderate growth in the economy, and as the economy may, hopefully not, may constrict. So that's a source of revenue that remains untapped. I'll close with this, Mr. Chairman. I want to encourage you, Director, and the leadership, to look towards the Marianas Regional Fusion Center, look at the use tax opportunities, as Senator Moylan pointed out. Thank you, Senator Moylan, for that. I'd like you to network with, starting with the Northern Marianas and regional partners, in the sharing of intelligence data, so you can make informed decisions that will thwart the importation of contraband and human trafficking, any other type of thing that comes to the border. And you can do that and not react to it, but you can do that with shared intelligence. I'm sure Director McDonald and others who work with our federal counterparts, one of whom's in the room, could provide that kind of guidance necessary. Something as simple, and I was educated by the men and women at Customs, something as simple as a uniform. I don't even know what the form is called right now. I forgot. It slips me. There's this uniform document that comes in for, let's say, when I was a director for fisheries, particularly tuna. And, you know, let's use tuna as an example. And there are different forms that come in from different jurisdictions. But if you would simply adopt a uniform form and set of protocols, it may speed up the opportunity for our working professionals to enter that into a database so we can make meaningful use of that information. And so thank you again for picking up the ball on the information system at Customs, but now that BSP has, through the governor's office, worked with the Department of the Interior on an information system, or at least a technology assessment of where we're at, hopefully you can collaborate and build upon that. I want to close, this is really my last sentence, Mr. Chairman. I'm happy, I'm proud, and I'm deeply moved that you have not stopped fighting to take our island's first line of defense to even greater heights. Thank you, Director. Appreciate you coming back and accepting the appointment. You have my unqualified support and vote of confidence. God bless you, and God bless your family, and God bless Customs and Quarantine.
Thank you.
Si Diyos masi Will. Tamana na fafaisino si Will. Afama alo gifenut tomorrow lunch. Leku atra lilozo sanganya na biano bay boka. Jaungan ay kulan papajay amigula comprende from the tomorrow. Guahu jahu pramatika imafanagweku. Todo tempo honra e mafanagweku destanidi kekezo. Na pabe continuas sumupoti ikut terata ilingwahita sa didi dia jata suhaji zaman malefait malilingo sempre lo dosa ay pabe tautomone jai
tatozo nya
enigi jauh na bay ungo you know bumani do suzu nai bumani do suzu sa mega siya tautozo na so ambi naman publirantis jad gini ane tatutuni nai man eskwela man dadang kulit amboy man finu sa momorita ja eskwela kulan wagagan parehita ni man pinibleta ja tisina ta foti nai para tanaw na pekuleo guahu makuleo zo 6 anos muna 6 anos sa Mariteno dos Biag University lo honra Lifuna Inglaterra na ay education is the key to success, no? Pes ujuti timpok muskwela tu. Ustatana amjun ileko dos Biag Mariteno sa tawda na Mariteno gi university, right? Lo jaho na benai dangkulo na si Jesus Marsi goberno dan segundo goberno. Sa dinansi. Iseleksyonian purmain Departamento de Correction. And let me just say, because we met several times at the office, and I wanted to find out all the issues confronting the problems at the Department of Correction. And one of the biggest issues that I find out is that you're renting so much space at the airport that is idly not being used. But suffice the check for after mano. And then we talk about service fees. And remember, I think you mentioned something like $2 or something for the service fees. They could maximize that 20 times over. Sa tiumanog sempo na ito jang ginon aumentaw lo 20 pesos. Tiumanog sempi service fees. Pues sige na pues comento sir por ijomo traveler's fee. Unsangani utalo na este in charge the traveler's fee. Usangani talo aumenta 20 masulo. Pago janggen timalofan ijo na tapi para ijo na tinat kilo. Tali hafa mas appropriate para tapega. Service fee jani traveler's fee. Uhungong na ma-mensiona 101 officers pago taw-taw mo, right? Quanto na opisyal o necesita? Pun may nagahit, pun kumpli itetso a Department of Custom and Quarantine?
Senator, if I was going to give you a precise amount of officers that I would like to see within the next 2 years, it's at least 235. 235.
So that's over 100.
Yes.
Is your officers required to be certified under the Belaya program?
Yes.
And I would think so. Because that's an act, and it requires all law enforcement officers to really be certified under the Belaya. And this is my problem. And I brought this out with even the Chief of Police, Department of Correction, and all law enforcement, Commercial Port, Port Authority. I-problema na igwini, untungo ay dyan manahanat para University of Guam, right? We take EN 100, right? Pero gaigi na EN 100 naman na requirement is yun. If you don't pass the EN 100 interview, you're out of there. Pero go na ililiko. Now what I really want to do, and I'm working on it, and I'm going to push for it because it's easier said than done, Jangin Lekta, if we're going to hire police officers. Because, I'm thinking maybe if we're going to avoid or take out the EN 100, we probably need to go to the AAA process. And by God, I don't know who are the members of the AAA process. I thought that it's over at GCC or where, University. I don't even know those guys because I want to talk to them. So what my plan is that, you mentioned over 120 people that you need. Problema pun nakumpli na minigay tao-tao. Jangin titatulay ka EN 100. Sa kung na mano pa Department of Administration ja te pasa EN 100 requirement magpuno binana. See what I'm saying? So what I want to do is extend or increase, because the Belaya program is only like what, 2.5 months to 3 months, right? And the thing is, if you graduate from the Belaya program and you take the test for the initial law enforcement entry and you don't pass that, you're out of there. But what I really want to do, and I want to take this and make it a reality during my watch, is expand the Belaya training for 6 months and combine that, marry that up with the initial police training. And during the cycle of those 6 months, teach those trainees or, those that's going through the Belaya and the police training, teach them how to meet that composition of the EN 100. And if you give them the test the first time and they flunk it, teach them how to pass it, nay. Sangani temanu po pasa. Sa ningaya na tempo janggen te pasa EN 100. Jatiu sangani hafa po chogi tiu fanaugi tiu pasa gi segundo biai. Guaho na ni muskakilo megay biai. Megay biai na tiu pas itesu. Lontungo afa ubira jo za mamaisino giman atungo jani maestro. Hafta manu pa be pasai test. Hafa pa be studia sa tagina na putpuleblu na nayo pa be studia za goa sa agoku na be hano za be famfi nijo za be mulino za be na famboke kan mami manuk jani babu sa guana taza sa lapi gigima za teniki jangin man mate manuk pa man mate babu taza na mami the step is angan ungan taza sa lapi mami lamang gift sagam gineng kanu. But anyway, I just want to say that when I was in the police department, right, I was in charge of narcotics, coming out from the Drug Enforcement Academy in Washington, D.C. And the techniques of consuming and all that, and working with the narcotics division as being in charge of narcotics, I I can safely, trustfully say this, that your most effective asset within your agency is the expansion or the concentration of supporting your intelligence. Do you have an intelligence unit at a Department of...
The way we use the intelligence unit, Senator, is that we have individual officers that are each assigned to the respective task force within the government that is collaborating with the federal government. So we have officers assigned to each of this federal task force, and they're the ones that provide...
Like the DEA, the
yes.
FBI, and,
yes.
and you also coordinate with law
yes.
enforcement over at Los Angeles Airport. And the reason why I brought that up, so when I was in charge, right, I coordinated with all law enforcement agencies in the States. And the reason why I say that having that intelligence unit with the capabilities of the importation of illicit drugs, the most important asset in your unit would be is a good, strong intelligence unit. When I was in narcotics, mind you, I had over 100 CRTs. You know what CRTs, right?
Yes.
Director Kanata, you know what CRT, right? And I don't want to... Well, CRT is very effective because if the drug arrives on the island, on this island, and you have your CRTs, good numbers of CRTs outside there, you will know who's in possession of that drugs. You will know how the importation got through the port, the airport, the mail or commercial port. I would like to see that in your unit. Sa nitay mano unspe empeño to interdict the drug importation on the island. They use different kinds of concealment techniques. And I've talked to you about this. And I asked Jim, after mano, we've worked for the longest time. Just a paugo, edi maagang ice. Ay ti ice keki, edi ice di pusi. Just a paugo sisiga manhalum. Pus ay janggen so tunga naman sa poteo todo. Están menciona na tau no? So lo todo I mangatsongo gini janggen hafay leko tunga go masamko gini na senidon. Jatibe sangani pun mabota, bay pago jon mabota. Lo stigi na sempi matsochuit na dos. So tungo lo kwe itay manu para magang counteract if in English na all this importation of illicit drugs. Zazahon na benayo di ni tiningo put esti sa atmamo na di umanea izo na division na section gi Guam Police. Let me just read something here before we adjourn, because I think it's time that estabululugbog no stamago. Stay tilipas dikiki malung tilipas damkulo. Anyway, thank you, colleagues, for joining me at this confirmation hearing. I'd also like to thank all of those who testified on behalf of my brother-in-law. It's always good to hear positive testimony about a trusted member of our community. It gives me confidence that he will do a good job in his leadership position. And I want to thank you, I want to thank everybody here that testified on your behalf. So when I listen to them, I'll tell you, so at this point in time, I want to say we adjourn. Jatambuka fa talani.